And now, coming to you live from Huntsville Attic Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Billups, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey everybody, it's the Pop Culture Philosophers. Come to you from the Huntsville Attic in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Super excited about tonight's show. We're talking about filmmaker, actor, comedian, comic writer, Kevin Smith. I think he's been super influential on me and Robbie. His comic style, his films, maybe more so than he should be. Of course, I'm John Hammertime Holshoe. With me always, Rockin, Robbie, Billups.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Very excited to be here and do a Kevin Smith podcast. Kevin Smith, like you said, big influence on us, our friendship. We used to spend a lot of time watching Jay and Silent Bob movies, the Universe, if you will.
And the animated show. Yeah,
oh
I think that's how I kind of met because of our love for Sir Kevin Smith.
Yeah, and he's really a big influence on what we do today. He made me want to make movies. I never did that, but I'm podcasting now. And, we started out working in a movie theater. He started out making films, and here we all are podcasters now.
Yeah, didn't he work at a video store for a while? Didn't he also work at
RST Video?
Didn't you work at a video store as well?
Yeah, I did.
I think your life mirrors his more than most people's.
Maybe. I guess I got the heart attack and the veganism coming up soon.
And the weed smoke.
I handle that pretty well.
Okay.
I'm kind of high right now. Anyway. With us tonight, we have Justified Justin Goldsmith.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Sweet.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now we got the microphones fixed.
Yeah.
It's the third time we've done these
this
intros
is the third intro. Also, Dashing Drew Madsen.
Hell yeah, it's leap years of 1957. Let's get that line going again.
That doesn't make any sense.
They didn't hear
Leap
the
year
Doesn't
has to be an
first 2 or
even
3
number.
takes.
Wow, that's a little loud. Leap year has to be an even number, Drew. Crazy bastard.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're all good.
Sweet.
I think everybody sounds fantastic. The general audience doesn't know that we had some recording difficulties
Yeah,
before
and from
this
this point forward, who cares?
everything's hunky-dory now, which is a great Bowie album, by the way. I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's time for the next segment, which is the bio and history.
Yeah, we're talking a little about Kevin Smith. I think most people know who Kevin Smith is. That even if you're not a big Kevin Smith fan, everybody knows him as Silent Bob, for sure. So, like I said, filmmaker, actor, comedian, comic book writer. He's from Red Bank, New Jersey. That's where he sets most of his films, is in the New Jersey area. And his first successful film actually was his first film. It was a low-budget, independent comedy made with his buddies called Clerks. It's in black and white. Phenomenal film. Most people's introduction to him was probably Clerks. His most notable, like I said, is his role as Silent Bob, part of the stoner duo Jay and Silent Bob, where he had a recurring role in his own film series set in the same universe, the Philosophers, as Silent Bob. Series of films, and include, but not limited to, limited to, until he makes another one. Clerks 2, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob, Strike Back, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and there's rumors he's going to do a Clerks 3. There's supposed to be another Mallrats, but I guess that's not going to come to fruition because of rights or something. He's also done horror with Red State. He's done comedy horror with Yoga Hosers and Tusk. In addition, he's directed the film Cop Out, done the Supergirl TV show, produced shows, wrote several comics, also does a podcast, or as he calls it, a smodcast, and live shows, which he's known for, which is like, he tells these long, hilarious rants about true Hollywood stories or stuff in his life, and they're hilarious. Oh my God, are they funny.
Yeah, they are.
But the one like about Prince is just like, you learn a lot, but it's also really funny. Or when he was making the Superman movie that never came to be. But definitely check out his like live rants, because oh my God, they're fantastic.
I love that because he always starts off like it's going to be a Q&A or something like that, and he gets the first question and then just rants for the whole
it's an hour and a half
or whatever.
Yeah, he's definitely got some stories, but they're good stories. He's not just like telling you bullshit. Like his whole thing about Prince and the Prince film that never came to be is phenomenal. Just hilarious guy, and what an interesting life for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
We saw the three of us. Drew didn't go, but the three of us saw him with Jason Mewes in Huntsville at Stand Up Live.
You were there?
Yeah, not at. I was.
He went
the
to a
second
different show.
Oh, that's right. We saw you when we were leaving. We went to the first show. You were at the second.
Yeah.
But you got me a ticket for my birthday or Christmas or something. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was me, you, and The Voice, and Alicia.
Yeah, it was
a
a
lot of
great
fun.
show. And
they read us a scene from Jay and Bob Reboot, which is actually in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I was surprised. Like, I know Kevin Smith is a funny guy. Hilarious. So we're going to say funny or hilarious? Hilarious. Fellatio guy.
Oh.
He's a funny guy, and I expect him to be funny. There was no doubt there. What I was surprised by in the live show is how much Jason Mewes spoke. Mewes?
Meow.
Did you say Did you say meow?
Yeah.
Jason, meow.
Do I look like a cat to you, boy?
I was surprised how much he talked and how fucking funny he was.
They were both super funny. I wish there was like some kind of meet and greet, unfortunately it didn't happen, and but it was a great thing to actually see him. And I know that you said most people should be introduced to Kevin Smith Clerks. Was that the first Kevin Smith movie you watched?
My first was Mallrats.
Me too.
Yeah, I had some stoner buddies, and we were hanging out at their house. And they're like, "Hey, man, let's watch this Mallrats again." And I'm like, "Mallrats again?" I hadn't seen it.
You in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
So I watched Mallrats, thought it was hilarious. I love this Jay and Silent Bob. I didn't know it was a throwback or who they were at the time. What caught my attention, though, and the reason I went and looked at this director more and started looking further into him, and at the time he only had one other fucking film, which was Clerks, was that the credits end with a Weezer song that hadn't been like formally released. I mean, it was on the soundtrack, but I thought I had the only Weezer available at the time. I was a big Weezer fan. I'm like, this is fucking Weezer.
You were a big Weezer fan?
He had you for life.
Yeah, and I'm like, holy shit! Oh my god! I just deep throated the mic. Anyway, I get excited talking about Weezer, and then I was like, I have to look into this guy further. Then I watched Clerks after that. Fucking love Clerks. I had currently at the time had a job in customer service. You know what I'm saying, or retail. So it very mirrored my experience.
Yeah.
And that kind of set it off. I mean, I loved him ever since that.
Yeah, the first one I watched was definitely Mallrats. Me and my homies, you all know these guys. Well, you guys don't, I think, know Abe. Abe?
I know Abe and love Abe.
Me, Abe, and George every weekend would go to Blockbuster Video and we would rent a movie, right? And I had a rule. We would only rent and watch a movie if it was written and directed by the same person. Like, because back in the 90s, like, that was independent film.
Yeah.
If it was written and directed by the same person, you were pretty much sold. Like, you're solid. It's gold. You're going to get something from Quentin Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez or Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's not so much nowadays.
Yeah.
But like that was a rule. We picked up Mallrats because I think Abe was like, I've heard good things about this one. And I remember seeing the advertisements for it in comic books, right? So we probably watched it in like 96 or 97. And we just, obviously loved it. And then we watched Clerks. We found Clerks like the next weekend. And that was my first experience with an expanded universe outside of the old school Universal horror films, And I was just fascinated with that. But I was also just fascinated that in Mallrats, these people talked and acted like me and my friends. It was all dick and fart jokes, making fun of each other. I was a big comic book nerd, still am, obviously. Brody really kind of spoke to me. But that it was a big, big influence. And, then we watched Chasing Amy, and then when we were, like, Dogma was the first one I watched in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I was super, super excited. But at that point, me and you knew each other. When
Dogma is
came
the
out.
first one where I remember being on the floor in the theater, even though Florida has theaters are strictly known for having like gross, dirty floors. Because I laughed so damn hard, I like fell over and was in pain.
Yeah,
as
right?
a Dogma.
Yeah, and Dogma was hilarious, and then so on and so forth. Justin, what was the first one that you watched? And what's the memory attached to it?
Well, I was thinking that it was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, just randomly seeing it on Comedy Central.
What a weird start.
Yeah, but oddly enough...
you're a little bit younger than us.
Yeah, a little bit.
As I say a lot on the podcast, meaning that he's like, what? Honestly,
I'm 30.
like...
He gets his driver's license
So
next
you're only
week.
like
He'll be
8
16.
years younger than us.
Yeah.
Okay. But
I
that
think I was like 19.
but that time is perfect for that.
What are you doing with
what
that
I'm saying?
alcohol, young man?
Well, so like in 1996, you were like way younger than us. You know what I'm saying? So like you should not have been watching Clerks and Mallrats at that point.
No.
That's true.
But I thought it might have been that, but I think... I started thinking it might have actually been Clerks 2 when it came in the theaters, because I don't think I was
That was
aware
like
of...
2006, right?
Yeah, I was junior in high school in 2006.
Jesus.
But I might have watched Clerks like the day before going to see it, but it's one of the three, and I watched them all in a really close, like within a few months of each other.
Yeah. Well, that's really so. That's crazy that like even if it wasn't Clerks too, if it was Jay and Silent Bob, that's really like to me and John. That's we started almost near the beginning.
Yeah.
Almost. 94 was a little too early, I think, for me to realize independent film. Like it took a little bit. Like Chasing Amy was actually out when that one came out. When I watched Mallrats, I think Chasing Amy was already out. So it was probably like 97 when I watched that.
Well, it makes sense because if I started out in or around 2006 when Clerks 2 came out, that puts me in the same age range as when you guys started watching this View Askew.
Yeah, right. And that's actually a few years before we met each other. Yeah. So, what about you, Drewski?
Definitely Dogma, and I'm the youngest one out of all of you guys, so I'm a year younger than Justin.
So you were 5 years old when you saw Dogma.
No, when y'all are talking about watching Mallrats or Clerks in like 94, I'm like, I was 4.
Talk about watching films when you're too young. That probably would not have been a film.
Yeah. That's what
37 dicks. You're 4 years old watching.
Mom, she sucks 37 dicks.
Explain that to me, Mom.
She says, in a row? What? Yeah. But no, it was definitely Dogma, like late night Adult Swim, or not Adult Swim, Comedy Central. And
Yeah.
I remember just seeing the cast because I knew who George Carlin was, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and the god, Selma Hayek.
I forgot she was in that until
It
I
is
watched it
such a
earlier.
great fucking
I
cast.
did not.
It is such a good cast.
Yeah.
You forgot Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I was focused on Selma Hayek, man. I was very young.
I called him Gabriel or something.
You called
earlier.
him Gabriella earlier.
Whatever.
I would say Alan Rickman to this day is my favorite Megatron. Never mind, Metatron. Sorry, I messed that up.
He was a phenomenal actor, no matter how you want to slice it.
Yeah.
So Dogma. You saw that theatrically, or you saw it in at home?
No, at home, Comedy Central.
See,
you said that. You just said that.
And
I zoned out.
That's the first one I watched in theaters. Was Dogma.
Oh yeah, and this was like late night on cable.
Yeah.
years later.
Same.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Although he's got a lot of great actors. Some actually started in his films, or some had very small parts and kind of blossomed in his films. I would say he jump-started Jason Lee's career. Jason Lee previously...
He was just a skateboarder.
Yeah, he was a skateboarder who apparently he auditioned for a role for a jeans ad because they need a skateboarder, and he was a skateboarder. And he's a great skateboarder, by the way. Look him up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, we're canceling the skateboarding part. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to leave. And they're like, well, we'll give you $100 if you want to be in it. He's like, what do I got to do? Like, just jump up and down. And he's like, okay, for $100, I'll do that. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of spawned his acting career. And I think his first big part was Mallrats.
Yes.
So there's a lot of great actors I think he's worked with, either blossomed or he's friends with. Kevin Smith, like Ben Affleck, I would put up in the upper echelon of great actors. Jelani may disagree with us, but he's super. Let's just say he's mega famous, right? Everybody knows who Ben Affleck is.
Yeah.
And but he's still the dick from Fashionably Male.
Yeah, Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering your favorite characters and performances that to you stand out from a Kevin Smith film. It doesn't have to be from Askew Universe, but it would help. I'm going to start with Drew. What are some roles or some characters or actors that to you were just stand out in your mind?
The one I always think of, no matter what Kevin Smith, it's always Jeff Anderson as Randall.
Dude, yes.
Just the shit that he talked is just always the best. Just making people vomit in Clerks 2. just wildly just talking about his racist grandma. It's like, oh, porch monkey, we're taking it back. And the next scene, the back of his shirt just says porch monkey for life.
He really is such a shitty person.
Yeah.
But he's so funny. But he's also has blinders. Does that make any sense? He's a shitty person, but I don't think he's cognizant.
We're not talking about our favorite people.
To his shitty personness, but he does such a good job as Randall Graves.
Yeah, I was rewatching Clerks the other day, and I was like, man, Randall's kind of my hero. Because he's able to say shit that people can't say, as far as being a clerk. And John, I know that you said that you used to work retail and customer service, whatever, right? And you've moved beyond that.
Yes.
Good for you. Not everybody.
I wouldn't say.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been a clerk my entire fucking life, and the things that Randall says in Clerks and Clerks 2 and the animated series, like I'm like 100%. And before the show we were talking about, I thought Jeff Anderson was one of the worst actors in Clerks, but his delivery gets better. And he's one of the best parts of Clerks, the animated series.
Oh my God, the show is so funny, and he is so great in that. I love Randall Graves, Jeff Anderson. He is Jeff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Nobody else has played him. It's not like fucking Lando where there's different actors. It's Jeff Anderson who does such a good job. What about you, Robbie? Besides Jeff Anderson is the great Randall Graves. Who else stands out in your mind, and what characters do you like?
My favorite performer is probably have the biggest crush on Ben Affleck, but Jason Lee. Jason Lee in every single movie that he's in is amazing.
Banky
Brody, Azrael.
Yeah.
And sometimes Banky and Brody in the same movie. And Brody is me. When you first met me, I was Brody to a T.
Oh yeah.
Like everything. Living at home.
You were a mall rat.
Yeah.
You were a big comic book fan.
Yep.
Yeah, you really are Brody.
I was super anal retentive about everything.
You always had that goddamn Dixie cup.
Well, I didn't have I didn't have Dixie cups, but I didn't have the Dixie cup.
Just that one, and you keep refilling.
Yeah, so I really like Brody. Brody's probably my favorite, just because I relate to him the most. But I really do think Brian O'Halloran is really good in all those movies. Like Dante, he's the best actor in Clerks,
100%.
and he really gives it his all. I really like Chris Rock as Rufus. That's a great character, the 13th Apostle.
Yes.
And then we'll talk more about them, but I mean, obviously, Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about you, Goldsmith?
Dude,
what actors or which roles that stand out in your mind?
I mean, obviously, when you think of Kevin Smith and all these movies that we've been talking about, Randall's the one that pops out. He's the standout from all those movies. But Alan Rickman as Metatron and Dogma.
Alan Rickman in anything. Alan Rickman is just a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, and one that I was wondering if anybody's going to bring up. We talked about this at lunch the other day, and we didn't even realize it was him until like a minute into his scene. Johnny Depp in Tusk.
Yeah, oh yeah.
God,
it's the
good. As
the French detective,
the French Canadian inspector.
I remember when I watched that, and I was like, "Is that Johnny Depp?"
Yeah, like 2 minutes into his scene.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah,
like that's the best. I mean, I'm not just saying that because it's Johnny Depp, because there's other bigger actors. Alan Rickman.
I shouldn't have had that extra
but
slider.
He's in Yoga Hosers too, right?
I didn't get to it.
His daughter is the other
Yeah.
main role in Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Harley and it's Mrs. Depp. Miss Depp.
John Depp's daughter. And I think that her being cast, I think, is what kind of propelled him to be in the film, even in a smaller part, because of that. No nepotism there. Kevin Smith. He definitely doesn't have nepotism in his films.
Another one. Nobody mentioned this, but Rick Darris is another one of my favorite characters in these movies. Like, I love Rick Darris. Like, you meet him in Clerks, right? But he's the asshole guy that's always sleeping around with people's boyfriends. They always mention him in all these
sleeping around with people's boyfriends
or girlfriends.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm. We don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that may be a good exploration. But, like, the guy that played Rick Darris was just one of Kevin's friends, because that's everybody that was in Clerks was pretty much one of his friends or some New Jersey college actor like Brian and Jeff were. And I don't think Jeff even was an actor. I think he actually kind of auditioned for the role of Randall as kind of a joke and got it because he delivers that so well. And it seems like that's what I'm hearing from you guys is how... Like, I think we all love Randall because we all wish we could get away with what Randall gets away with.
I think he's kind of burnt out in the retail world, so he just does what he fucking wants. Versus Dante is still very much like, the customer's always right, and I value my job, and I'm not going to piss off customers. And Jeff Anderson's character, Randall, just does not give a fuck.
Well, you remember Abe.
Yes.
And Abe was Dante and I was Randall.
That exactly.
And you were our manager.
Oh my God, it was a nightmare.
So, You know, and like just the fact that what Randall can get away with, that scene where he's like, I don't appreciate your ruse, ma'am. Your cunning attempt to trick me.
What? Oh, when he spits water, he's like spitting water at
my
life
God.
or whatever.
You think that was offensive?
Yeah.
How
Look
about
at
that
this.
one? When he's like, yeah, look at, I think you can see your kidneys. Like, oh my God, dude.
I want to rent porn. You guys, you have porn at your store.
And
I
the
want
moment
better porn.
the moment you first meet him in Clerks, when he shows up and that woman's there, and so he like, because he's late to
yeah.
and he-
Yeah, this place sucks.
and he opens it up and he's like, oh man, I hate it when I can't rent my videos. And they're like, yep, I know the video I want. It's right there. I'm going to get it. He goes, I bet you $20 you don't get that movie. What about you, John?
Randall Graves is top of my list. Shit you not. Second is Brody, which you've already talked about. Jason Lee, great actor. And then, of course, Jay and Silent Bob. Like, I think Jay is one of the most undervalued people at Jason Mewes in Hollywood, especially when they were doing the animated show. They were like, remember the ABC or whoever did not want him. Like, who's playing Jay? Like, oh, Jason Mewes, who played him in the.
Well,
like,
they
no,
did.
we don't
They
want
do-
this.
Universal didn't want him for Mallrats. Remember, they cast Breckin Meyer as
God.
Jay. And they told Kevin, like, one fucking mistake from this dude, and Breckin's coming in. And, like, Jason Mewes, like, worked his ass off and learned all of his lines and did everything he needed to do for that film. Isn't that crazy?
I can't
makes
imagine
sense.
somebody else playing Jay.
There's another
besides
reality,
Jay.
man, where Breckin Meyer became famous for playing Jay. And they did, like, 20 Jay and Silent Bob movies instead of just, like, 8.
Instead of Sex Trip or whatever the fuck. What was that show? What was it?
Road Trip. He's in
Sex
Road Trip.
Trip?
Yeah. I think your memory of that movie is about certain
I'm thinking of
aspects
Sex
of it.
Drive,
Sex
which is-
Drive.
Sex Drive, which I love.
which is hilarious. Different film.
Okay.
It does
Yeah.
have Cyclops in it.
Everybody's talking about Randall and Brody, and this turned me a Jason Lee fan. Like, I watched movies like Drawing Flies,
Yeah.
you know, and I watched Kissing a Fool and owned that on VHS because I love Jason Lee so much. It wasn't because I love David Schwimmer, though I think Ross is one of my favorite friends, to be honest. I mean, he's an asshole, and he's easy to make fun of. Anyway,
But who also didn't
nobody in that show
Yeah.
does physical comedy like David Schwimmer. Anyway,
Damn it. We'll hold this for the David Schwimmer podcast.
Joey Lauren Adams as Alyssa Jones is amazing in
Yes.
Chasing Amy. That role is amazing. And then when you know the actual personal stuff that was going on, she was Kevin's girlfriend.
Yeah, at the
They
time.
dated, and then they broke up.
Talk about batting out of your league or whatever, hitting and
Yeah.
you know
Well,
what I'm saying?
This was something that really kind of like changed my life, was that Kevin Smith back in the day, he was like, yeah, you know, everybody always talks about how, you know, you can't get a girl because of the way you look or whatever. He's like, to me, in my life, it was always about personality. And that's something I found. It doesn't matter if you got some extra weight, if you're tons of fun, you know, or whatever. Like, if you got the personality to back it up, people are going to be attracted to you. And that's what the Kevin Smith's got, personality out the yin yang.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
And out of his dick hole. And I feel like tonight we got to make as many dick and fart jokes as possible in honor of Kevin Smith, because that's how he made his bread.
Yeah.
Snooches.
Yeah.
Smoochy, smoochy. Is that what the word is?
Snoochie Boochies, asshole.
Smoochy, boochy.
Who fucking talks like that? That is
Baby
fucking
talk.
baby
Yeah.
talk.
It's yeah, he's got some great characters, great actors. He's worked with a lot of great people. And we're going to explore a little more about the Jay and Silent Bob, the Askew-universe, however you want to call it. When we come back,
The
we're
View
gonna
of Skewniverse.
the View Askew-universe. Thank you. When we come back, we're going to take a little break because I am out of beer, so I got to go get some more beer. We'll be right back. We'll be right back on Pop Culture Philosophers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups. Joining me, of course, is John Hammertime Holshoe
Hell yeah.
and Justified Justin Goldsmith
Hey.
and Dashing Drew Madsen.
Damn yeah.
Somehow, during the break, Drew lost his pants and is pantsless now.
Yeah.
The audience can't see this.
It's okay
It's
because we're
true.
sitting at a table.
But he's more comfortable this way, he said.
Yeah.
Like every radio host.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the first podcasts I've done in a long time where I'm wearing shoes, actually.
Why
That's
are
a
you
weird-
wearing shoes?
I don't know. I was so nervous. I was like,
On
what if,
your hands.
what if Kevin listens to this?
I better wear shoes.
I better wear shoes. So yeah, we've been talking about Kevin Smith, and we just talked about our favorite characters and performances. We talked about our first movies we've seen. We talked about Kevin Smith himself. So let's get to the meat of this show. Or actually, I guess the top 5 is the meat. So this is the potatoes of the show.
Potatoes, this is the appetizer. Or is it the first segment the appetizer?
The first segment was the first segment's if the first segment's the appetizer.
It's the demi-glaze.
We're in the peas and carrots right now, not the potato even.
I'll be honest with you. I sometimes start with the crust on the pizza.
You're like Donald
I'm
Trump.
I'm not the one you should be asking about this.
And it's not even a stuffed. It's actually a thin crust that he's eating. That's what sucks.
Well, I don't even want to go here.
I love it. I'm just going to say, I love a thin crust pizza.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to eat that shit crust first.
Exactly.
No.
First of all, what crust?
It has to be a good crust. Some people don't have a good thin crust.
Who's got the best thin crust?
You know, for a legitimate.
This is an after hours thing. We'll talk about pizza for the after hours.
Okay, for a non-pop mom and pop shop, I think pizza has the best thin crust. Pizza
Who?
Hut.
What? Pizza
Hut.
I think pizza has the best thin crust.
Pizza.
You're right. You're right, John. Pizza has a better thin crust than lasagna.
Yeah, than cheeseburger.
We're going to clarify that in after hours.
Anyway, so PCP After Hours is the show after the show. It's a Patreon exclusive, patreon.com/PCP.
Yeah, and you want to subscribe or get involved because we're going to talk about thin crust pizza.
$1 a month, you get After Hours.
Yeah, and my famous pizza recipe will be listed on there.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that one.
It's lasagna.
It's hamburger lasagna. All right, we're getting to the View Askewniverse right now. So Jay and Silent Bob, we'll talk about. First of all, I really want the segment is titled Jay and Silent Bob and the View Askewniverse, right? So first of all, the greatest creation of Kevin Smith is Jay and Silent Bob, right, John?
Hell yeah, and the recurring roles, and I love them both, and the consistency. When I first saw my first introduction to them, Mallrats. So obviously, even though they're funny in it, and I like the Batman spoof or whatever, I didn't know who these characters were, and nor did I give a fuck. Like, I enjoyed the film, but I didn't know the throwback or anything like that.
I think you learned more about them in Mallrats than you actually do in Clerks.
Oh, yeah.
And they're great, and Jason's great, and, like, we saw them live, and they're both just hilarious, seem like awesome people. People you'd want to hang out and have a beer with. Yeah,
and what's really crazy is that a lot of people that maybe were a little bit younger than us, like Justin and Drew here, that got into them at, like, Clerks 2 and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, like they're big parts of those movies.
Oh, yeah.
They're not big parts of Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy at all. But they're important parts, you know?
Yeah.
And
they're the glue of the View
Askewniverse. Yeah, Mallrats was my first one. I fell in love with those characters. I didn't even smoke as much weed as I do now back then. I smoked weed, but I didn't. Like, if I went back to, like, 1997 Robbie, I would look at him and be like, you fucking idiot. Like, you think you chief? You about to start the Chiba Nation? You ain't shit.
You have been watching the Joe Rogan podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm just going. I'm like, who gives a shit anymore, right? Anyway, so what am I doing?
We're talking about the View Askewniverse.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob. So that I get what you're saying, John, right there. Like that the idea of who Jay and Silent Bob were came to us in Mallrats, but like I remember like just eating all that shit up. You know, we were talking about watching those movies. I had a VHS cassette that I taped. Because, you know, you'd have the 2 VCR set up, right?
Yeah.
So you could rent a movie and copy it. And I had one tape on extended play, so I could put Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy on it, and that was always in a rotation in my room. And, like, if I went to sleep, it would turn off, and then when I woke up, I would hit play. Whatever point it was at, we're good. And I just ate up every appearance by Jay and Silent Bob. What do you think about Jay and Bob?
Well, yeah, they are definitely definitely the constant of the View Askewniverse because they're the same in every movie. Aside from Kevin Smith losing weight for a reboot,
which they make part of the story.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
but Jason Mewes, we didn't really talk about it earlier. We talked about how good a delivery Randall had, or what's his name,
Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson. Yeah. Jason Mewes as Jay is like effortless. It's like he's not even acting. I feel like it's just like him.
Well, in Clerks, he's literally not acting.
Yeah.
Like that is him. And Kevin wrote that character based on Jason Mewes. He's like, he was this weird fucking dude. We weren't even super friends, but like...
We met him when he was deep throating an arcade machine.
But like, you can watch Clerks and realize that he's not acting. He's just kind of going off, doing his normal thing, you know, and he had to take roles like Mallrats and then in particular Dogma very seriously, you know. But you know, he's had drug problems over the years, substance abuse.
The reason they did the tour, by the way.
He's gotten over that. They got their podcast now. He's got a kid.
Yeah, married, has a kid.
That's probably the greatest story in all of the Kevin Smith View Askew shit, right? Is Jason Mewes'
real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal guy. Listen to him talk, whatever. He's a funny guy. Seems like a genuinely nice guy.
He did that movie with Paris Hilton.
Well,
I saw that. Which one?
Of course you did.
Wait, was that actually him?
Yeah, he's in that. He's in one of those movies with Paris Hilton. But I don't know if that was when he was clean or if he was still using.
I thought you were talking about the sex tape.
No, I wasn't making a joke. There's a movie with Paris Hilton that he's in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of
No, that was Brian Urlacher.
Also, isn't he in? Is he in Drawing Flies?
I don't remember if it's in John Flies. He's in Zack and Miri, but
he is in Zack and Miri.
That's not a View Askew universe film.
Yeah,
but it's a Kevin Smith film. Mm-hmm.
Jay and Bob, real quick. Drew, what do you think about them?
They're funny.
You
said real quick. No,
and they're the glue of the View Askew universe.
Yeah, they are. Like whenever, like it's like the rite of passage. Whenever like the camera pans or whatever, you just see them like in every Clerks, like they're just hanging outside or or like accosting people.
Yeah,
blasting music.
You know how Clerks has those title cards throughout the movie, right? And it starts off with like Dante, and then Randall has his own, and then. Since we had seen Mallrats first, when I'm watching Clerks, and then it just comes up and it goes, Jay and Silent Bob. I'm like, yeah, man.
Yo.
Hell yeah. I'm down. So the View Askew universe, to me, was like one of the first shared universes that I recognized. Outside of the Universal ones. I think the Universal horror films, that's the first cinematic shared universe, right?
I don't think there was that good of a cinematic universe since then, and up until Marvel. Really? No. I think the best
Kevin Smith beat Marvel to it, dude.
Yeah. Between those two, I think the View Askew universe is probably the biggest cinematic universe.
Yeah, Star Trek.
Nah,
but those are all in the same property. You know what I'm saying?
Those are all
Star Trek movies. I mean, I get what you're saying.
But there were multiple shows.
There's sequels though, and the shows. I'm talking about movies.
Just the cinematic.
Well, like a cinematic universe. The first one is Universal horror, right? Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, all that shit, right? What do we really have? Like, you can't count James Bond because they're each successive movies.
Yeah,
you know, they're just sequels. It's all a line. Yeah. This is a thing where there were a bunch of different movies that were completely unique that had the same characters in it, and it wasn't just Jay and Silent Bob.
There's other threads. The biggest one I remember is I watched Mallrats first, and I remember I hadn't seen Clerks at this time. I go back and watch Clerks. And they go to that funeral, which you don't see, which he made the comic, which is fucking hilarious.
Yes.
And then you realize, Brody is the one responsible for this girl going to the pool, trying to lose weight, dying, and it's the funeral that Dante and Randall go to. So there's more threads connected to it than just Jay and Silent Bob. There's references to other characters.
Yep.
There's a lot threading those movies together.
For instance, Alyssa Jones's sister is in Clerks. She's the woman that comes up there, and Rick Darris is there, and they're talking about how Dante is out of shape.
Yeah.
That's Alyssa Jones' sister.
You hear him grunt when he put that milk on the counter?
Yeah, right? You know, and that's a tiny little thing, you know, and like that it gets referenced. Trish the Dish gets referenced. Yeah. The woman that like dies at the funeral, right? Like you watch Clerks, and it's a legendary scene because it was never filmed. It was in the script, but they never filmed it.
Yeah, they just see them running away.
They did the comic book, and they actually filmed it eventually.
The comic is so fucking funny.
The comic is funny. Phil Hester did the artwork. We'll get more into the comics later. There were 3 Clerks comics, though, that were fucking amazing. The View Askew universe, those connections. To me, it really inspired me. When I started writing my first movies, and I'm not any big shot. I've never made these things, right? But I wrote a movie called Skip Day. It's basically fucking because of Mallrats and Clerks. Like I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You pick one location, right? But in Skip Day, I picked a whole like a bunch of locations. But I was like, you do a day in the life, right? And so Skip Day is a senior high school Skip Day.
Yeah.
And so it had all these jokes and references. And then I wrote that Undesired Echoes script that is going to become the comic book Chloe.
Yeah, the comic book.
And it had a scene involving that had the characters from Skip Day in it. And I just kept doing this. And I was like, the Smiler Us Productions, we're just going to, I love that. It's the inside joke, you know? And to me, there is nothing funnier than the inside joke. And that's what the View Universe gave us throughout all those films. What do you think, Justin, about why it worked so well?
Why the shared universe?
Yeah. Like why it worked so well for Kevin.
Well, speaking from just me, like that's always been my favorite thing about movies and TV and stuff like that is the shared references to other stuff. Like,
so that's like one of the reasons why you like Star Trek.
Yeah, like Star Trek between the movies and the TV shows and all that stuff. It's all one thing. And to have these random characters show up in other scenarios or whatever is just it's just a really cool thing for me. I really, really love that. And that's why I've loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe so much. And that's why I've watched all of the Arrowverse in its entirety so far. And like a bunch of people have dipped off of it, but I still love it.
Yeah.
Because
Kevin loves it too.
It gives it some feet. It makes it this film that may be a single film feel like when you go watch that film again, feel bigger than it was because I'm like, oh, this feels like it's more than just a standalone film. That being said, all of Kevin's films are great standalone films.
Yeah. Just
happen to be intrinsically linked to each other.
Yeah, and it makes you want to pay more attention to it.
Yes.
Because that's like an incentive for the director, the people that are making it to do that. And it's because it gives the viewer more incentive to pay closer attention to it, to look for all the little Easter eggs and
it's
put
also
everything together.
A really great way to make yourself as the writer-director famous.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I'm serious. You get people
Yeah.
that are like into your work because they want to check out we got to watch all of Kevin's films because they all take place in the same
Yeah, they're all linked
universe.
together.
Yeah, you
And
get
then-
a solid base.
Yeah, and
before.
he's got the comic books that jump in. You know, that's something that Star Trek has always done. There's comic books that really elaborate in novels and all that kind of stuff. We're surrounded by them right now, to be honest with you. Yeah. So there's all this stuff that like really like gives credence to this.
Yeah, and expands the universe.
Chasing Amy on its own is a great movie.
Fantastic.
Great independent movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
We remember it because Jay and Silent Bob show up in one fucking scene. But they reference all these other movies. It's definitively, it takes place in this town. This small town. And Huntsville to me almost felt like Red Bank. Like I felt like maybe we were in the same fucking place. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's colder there and we like baseball and football more than hockey. But like, it's kind of almost the same thing. I feel like Huntsville's one of those towns that's like, it's not a small town, but it's not a big city, but it's like right in between. And Kevin was really saying a lot with these early films that are all tied in together. He had a lot to say about what it felt like to not go to college, to drop out, actually. You know, he dropped out of film school. Because he went to film school, but he dropped out, right?
I think he dropped out. He's like, why am I spending money on this when I could be using this money to make a film?
And that's what he did.
And that's what he did.
Maxed out credit cards and all that shit.
Sold his comic book collection.
And a lot of the inside jokes are just because they're based on his friends. They're based on circumstances. Like the whole shutters being closed in Clerks is all because they had a film at night.
Yeah.
You know, but it led to this whole fucking thing, which led to the you smell like shoe polish. Yeah. And it's just the repeated jokes and all that stuff is really funny. Speaking of repetitive, Drew, what do you think about the why does the whole shared universe work so well?
Well, part of it, like, it's one of those things, like, because Kevin Smith became so popular and he established that floor, it's like Spike Lee's audience. Like, if you see like a Spike Lee joint, you know it's going to be probably pretty good, and it's going to be like a lot of the same people watching it, and a lot of that is like Kevin Smith. Like his films never do well, like box office wise, but like but there's such this huge level of love for them,
and it started because of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think straight up because of that, because I was fascinated with the idea that, oh my God, Alyssa Jones, like, that's the character who's the sister of the one random person from Clerks, that one scene in Clerks, you know, and like there's so much talking in those movies, you know, and first of all, you know, he's been critiqued. He was critiqued very heavily in the 90s for having regular people talk more intelligently than they actually should.
Yeah. The way they speak, especially in that long, I agree.
And like they were like Kevin Smith and Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson does the same thing. Watch Scream. Watch Dawson's Creek. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
If only there was a Scream Kevin Smith. Oh wait, they do that.
Yeah, they do. And
Jay and
Scream
Silent
3.
Bob are in Scream 3.
Yeah.
It was also funny to me because my parents are both from New Jersey, like born and raised. And then when they watched one of these movies, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's like set in or like filmed in like Red Bank or whatever," and like, "Oh yeah, we were like 50 minutes away from there."
Yeah,
That's like, that was always cool to me. It's like, oh shit, and it's like, well, wish we still lived over there. Maybe I could have walked on and made a little bit of money.
And it's allowed a place for fans to have a pilgrimage.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You can go there. You
to
can,
his bookstore.
You can go to the Jay and Silent Bob Secret Stash.
Yeah.
You can go to
Quick
the
Stop.
Quick Stop and what used to be
The video
RST and / Cocksmokers chicken restaurant.
/ dispensary.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's a fun thing, and we always planned on going up there and seeing all that shit, but we
still
never did.
can.
Yeah, we should.
We're not dead yet.
We're not dead yet. Maybe
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah, when we
Maybe
going?
should. We'll go try to see Walt.
Yeah.
Whenever y'all want to drive to New Jersey, just leave me out of it.
Okay.
I've done that drive before. I used to live closer to that, and I was already like 13 or 14 hours.
The greatest thing to me about the View Askew universe too is there's just those lines that like, he's faster than Walt Flanagan's dog. And then you read the comic book and you find out why Walt Flanagan's dog is so fast and what they're talking about.
And then you see you see the comic book show, and there's the real Walt fucking Flanagan.
and then you're like, he's in all these movies. He played he was the Lon Chaney of Clerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all these characters. Yeah, because what do you do if you have holes in your film? You film with your friends.
Yeah.
Even if it's small bit parts. Even if it's somebody's, working at a background character or selling something.
And his ongoing character, Walt the Fanboy.
Yeah.
And Steve Dave is was it Brian Johnson? Is that his name? The other guy from Comic Book Men?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Steve Dave and
Play naked robber in Walt Flanagan's basement or whatever the fucking
and, you know,
reference is.
Brian directed Vulgar. You remember that? You
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Which is their insignia on View Askew.
Yeah, View Askew did more than just like other people did movies too. Like Drawing Flies is one of them.
Yeah.
Where Jason Lee leads these people on Canadian welfare, and he has this fascination to go and find Bigfoot. Like, what? But it's a great film.
It's a great film. It kind of shows his range. This is pre. What was his show? What was his ongoing show?
My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl, which is a great and funny show.
And by the way, we're talking a lot of good stuff about Jason Lee. He's a Scientologist.
Yeah. Okay, you got to break
Really?
down the whole
So?
fucking podcast.
What?
I said,
Did you say still?
No,
Oh, so?
no, that's why I was like, because I'm the Tom.
Don't they
Cruise.
worship-
Tom
okay.
Cruise
Yeah.
mark?
Jamie, will you look this up for me?
Don't they worship the bad guy from Thundercats?
Will you look this
Close
up for
enough.
me, Justin? I want to make sure. I don't want to talk shit. I think Ethan Suplee is. a
Have you seen him
Scientologist.
lately? He looks
Yes,
fantastic.
He's fucking jacked, dude.
He got jacked. He looks so great.
I saw
Good
those
for you,
photos.
Ethan
I showed them
Suplee.
to Mike, and I was like, "Look, dude,
Jason Lee left the Church of Scientology in 2016.
Awesome.
good for fucking him."
Good
Yes.
for him.
When's
Good.
Leah gonna get him on her show?
I'll watch that. I'll watch anything Jason Lee. I love Jason Lee. I watch Heartbreakers because of Jason Lee.
It almost seems though that every film by Kevin Smith that I enjoy is connected to the View Askew universe for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Occasionally he'll dip out, do something different. Either a film that was written by somebody else, or he just wants to branch out because I think he's a talented individual. So he's done some other things besides the View Askew universe. So what are your favorites is my question. What films have you watched? Have you seen? Have you enjoyed? So really, I think beyond the View Askew universe, we've got Cop Out, which was written by somebody else. Originally called Two Dicks, by the way, because they're two detectives, but they made him change the title.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah, which I think is a great name, actually, for a film. But of what it was based on, it makes sense. It wasn't just trying to be vulgar, but it's a funny title. Cop Out is also a great name. Mediocre film, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
He also did Red State, Tusk, Yoga Hosers. Am I missing another film? I know he's done other
Zack
things
and
besides
Miri.
films. Oh, and then, of course, Zack and Miri.
Well, there's
makes
Zack
porno.
and Miri, but what's crazy is apparently there's a lawyer in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back who is the same actor who plays the same character in Zack and Miri, which some people say establishes Zack and Miri as part of the View Askew universe.
Oh, Justin Long, yes.
yeah.
Who is also
I was trying
Tusk.
to think of that earlier.
He's
I knew.
also the guy in Tusk.
Yeah.
So
He's not playing that same character.
no,
but yeah,
but it's
he
the
is.
same actor.
Yeah.
So he has obviously a friendship with Justin Long.
That's another thing that makes his movies work. It's not that they're just connected as far as story goes sometimes, but he casts a lot of his same actors.
Yeah, or if you work with somebody and you would like them, and say they're in a bit part, and you're like, man, I got this vehicle coming up. I'd like you to be the main, protagonist or whatever. If it works, it works. I actually like Justin Long. I wish he was in more films. I don't love Tusk, but that's not Justin Long's fault. So, have you seen these other films? I'm going to start with Goldsmith. Have you seen those other films? I know you saw Tusk.
Yeah.
Because we both said, quote, and I quote, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah, it's out there. It's a lot. But it's a really cool... I really love the setup for it and the idea of the story.
We like Haley Joel Osment getting work. We're always happy about that.
Yeah.
Sans
friend of the show.
The boys.
What?
Sir Haley Joel Osment, friend of the show. Yeah, friend of the show.
But, I actually really like that movie a lot. It's a really cool setup, interesting, really interesting story.
It's definitely interesting.
It's body horror is the only word to describe it, really.
When I saw the original advertisement, I'm like, it reminded me of Human Centipede.
Well,
as far
it's
as
a riff on Human Centipede.
Yeah,
it
exactly. So I'm like, okay, and I get what they're doing. I guess it started on the Smodcast, this kind of concept.
Yeah, I was going to say
but it being made blew my mind.
They came out with on the Smodcast. I didn't realize it until I was showing you the scene after the credits of Tusk. There's a scene after the credits. What happened to Johnny Depp when they went into the mansion and he didn't show up for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Anyway, they came up with the idea for that, and I don't know if it was actually on the podcast, but it's a trilogy of movies that are related, and it's that Yoga Hosers, which I didn't see, but it has the two girls from the gas station, their daughters, and a movie that's been in development since 2015 or so called Moose Jaws.
Or it's a giant moose. I guess that's what it is.
Well, the actual tagline for the movie on IMDb says, like Jaws, 1975, but with a moose.
Well, Will Smith's a big Jaws fan.
Yeah.
As evident by the name of the main characters from Mallrats, right?
Yeah, or the references in Clerks. Into the water. You need a bigger boat.
And in Mallrats, too, again, like, I was going to propose to her. When? When Jaws popped out the water.
Which that right's gone, by the way.
No, I never got to go.
I never got to go either.
I did.
It was broken when I went.
It's some bullshit right now, isn't it? They changed it in some like bullshit new movie or something.
No, the area, some of Amity Harbor is still there, and there's a seafood restaurant there, but the ride isn't.
Okay, I was afraid like they turned it into like Fantasy Island or some shit.
No.
I don't fucking know.
No, they just
all right.
Kind of.
But it was broken when you were there, so maybe it's something different now.
Yeah, one of the big downfalls of Kevin Smith, because you said this movie's been in development for like 5 years, right?
It may never come to
fruition. So is Clerks 3 and Mallrats 2.
And Howard the Duck, the movie.
Yeah,
which Marvel officially canceled, by the way.
It was going to be an animated series, but they did cancel that. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And another movie called Kilroy Was Here. That's in post-production. I'm looking at his IMDb right now.
I think that's a Styx music video.
Drew, what about the Non-askewniverse films? Have you seen them? Have you enjoy them?
I have.
Insight. Did you see Red State?
I did see Red State. I immediately passed out right after it, so I didn't get to internalize any of it. But I remember like not hating it. I had the same feeling as you guys when I saw Tusk. Like, what the fuck? But no, my favorite of his non-stuff is definitely Zack and Miri.
Yeah, hilarious.
I just the Dutch rudder, the Lester the molester cock and stoof.
Never use the word shit and covered in the same sentence again.
It has Craig Robinson early on in his career, and he's funny as hell in everything he does.
It's great cast. It's a hilarious movie. I really think that's his best of his non-askewniverse because he went back to comedy. And it was written by him. I'm not knocking Cop Out. I think Cop Out's okay.
He very much did it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. And he admits that.
Yeah.
But, because he's like, I'm going to do horror. I'm going to do comedy horror. But then he went back to just classic horror, stuff he wrote. And Zack and Miri was painfully funny. Robbie, what about you? What do you think of his non-askewniverse films?
I think for the most part, they suck. I do like Zack and Miri. I think that one's probably the best because it's super funny and vulgar and crude and crass, but it also has a heart to it.
It does. It really does. I didn't expect that. That whole, it's not... He's like, you guys weren't fucking, you were making love.
Yeah, and the one thing, too, about, those movies, even Strike Back and Reboot, they have heart there.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Kevin's trying to get some heart across, you know? It's a little bit more cynical when Clerks and Mallrats are there, but from Chasing Amy, like in Dogma, like that, those movies are filled with heart.
Yeah, they hit you in the that deep down, in
Yeah.
the subcockles.
In the feels.
Nobody has mentioned Jersey Girl, which was his first foray outside of the View Askew universe, and it didn't work. And then he went back and did,
Isn't that Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck?
yeah, and Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, like
But Jennifer Lopez is only in the very beginning.
well,
right?
is it Liv Tyler or is it Jennifer Garner?
It's Liv Tyler.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Oh, I
so
hated
basically, yeah, Jennifer Lopez in the beginning.
That's even
she
before-
apparently
that's
passes
before
away
Strike
or
Back,
something.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his first. Yeah, non-skew, and it was a more serious film. I enjoyed. I think it's okay. I don't think it's his best film. I still think his best film outside of this universe is Zack and Miri.
Yeah.
And it's
I would agree.
funnier, but it's probably not takes itself as serious as.
I don't think he's a great horror writer / director. I think Red State is okay, but Tusk is brilliant for like 40 minutes.
Tusk is a bizarre film,
but then it
it's-
just
40 minutes.
yeah.
For 40 minutes, it's like really good. It's suspenseful, and then when the shit actually starts happening, that same concept could have been done more creepy, and less. It was campy, and the tone of the movie completely shifted for me.
Yeah, I will admit that. I still liked it though, but it did change.
Yeah, Yoga.
I heard he
Yoga
did the-
Hosers is
yeah.
not good.
I heard he did the first half of Tusk, and the rest was Robert Rodriguez. That's a
I hear
some
that
Dusk
a
Till
lot.
Dawn reference,
But
folks.
I think Zack and Miri's the best one, and it was also cool to see Jeff Anderson
Yes,
Yeah.
in a role that's not Randall.
yeah, and it was. I thought it was
he
really,
the
really
dude
funny.
that got shit on? Wasn't he?
No, that was. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking that
He's
was
the,
Jay.
he's
It was
the
him.
cameraman. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Jay was the actor.
Yeah.
Jay was the porn actor. It's a great cast overall. I mean, it was not successful, as
Yeah.
I mentioned, and it was what broke the relationship between him and the Weinstein Company,
Yeah,
which Drew mentioned maybe for the
Steve.
better.
probably for the best.
Yes.
I'll say this though, and this is something I think somebody mentioned this on a live stream I was doing or something, and I never thought about it. But Zack and Miri is where he met Seth Rogen, and where Kevin actually started smoking weed for real.
Yeah.
He didn't smoke
Yep.
weed before that. He didn't even smoke cigarettes when Clerks was out. Look at the difference. Like when he's smoking cigarettes in Clerks, you can tell he's like chimney smoking.
Yeah.
But if you watch like Chasing Amy, he's fucking smoking. And he got addicted, right? He's no longer a smoker. But he started smoking weed with Zack and Miri. And from that point forward, he has nothing to say. Like, and I'm not trying to like bash on him too much, but like I don't really think a lot of his other films outside of the View Askew universe are good. And I even think the later films, like I don't like Clerks 2. I'm not excited for Clerks 3. I'm not even excited for Twilight of the Mallrats. When if and when that's
If it
going to happen.
happens, yeah.
But like, because I think there's something almost valid to that. Thankfully, I watched Reboot.
Yeah.
Reboot kind of has some heart, but it also is very integral to be a part of the View Askew universe,
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't
Yeah.
stand alone.
And it's funny, and it does have those moments of nuance in there, but it kind of does come right there. Now, I think it has more to do with the fact that he became successful, got a family, had a kid.
Yeah, people change.
He was happy.
Yeah.
His movies are driven by angst, like Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma.
He has no angst
Those are movies that are
anymore.
like he's screaming out about relationships, about life, about being stuck, about religion. He's fighting that, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like he got all of it out of his system. It's almost like God,
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette,
yeah,
right?
people change.
Alanis Morissette's first album, Jagged Little Pill, is amazing.
Yeah, great album. I'll agree with you
Nothing
there.
from that point forward is ever there because it seems like she got it all out of her system. I think maybe Kevin did that. Or maybe he just started smoking weed and just, you know,
Well, the
right?
very next movie after Zack and Miri Make a Porno was Cop Out. So
I would point out
They could call
yeah.
it sellout.
So
Needed the money for weed,
Yeah.
man.
No, I mean, who wouldn't jump at the chance to direct a buddy cop movie with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis?
yeah.
yeah, he's
On
always wanted.
paper-
To, yeah,
I know,
he's a big
but-
Bruce Willis fan.
On paper, that sounds like it should be amazing.
Yeah.
yeah,
It should have been the Lethal Weapon of the Audis.
Yeah.
Should have been.
The Audis.
but people do change, and that changes their work. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, Weezer. I hate to bring up Weezer because I know I'm obsessed with Weezer, and you guys are necessarily not.
Plus,
But
the
they-
whole next segment's going to
Yeah.
be about that, dude.
They have changed. Their music has, but Rivers himself has got married, had a kid, it definitely, your life perspective changes your music or your films or whatever if you're an artist, it changes your artwork. We'll just leave it at that.
Also, that's a really important thing, is that change is good for the artist. It's not, when an artist goes to make an album, they don't go out to
make the same
thing again. It's they want to do something completely different.
Fans want the same thing.
Yeah, but that's why Smith did Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
And Jersey Girl was an attempt to make a Chasing Amy type movie outside of that. But it just...
Well, I feel like now he's, like you said, he's gotten into more of the comedy horror type stuff, and that's actually, I was looking at, that's what this new Kilroy Was Here comes out. It's a horror comedy.
I'm not a big fan of his horror comedies, though.
Well, like I said, he's been tooling around with it a couple times. Maybe the next one will be really good.
We'll see if it ever comes up. He's had all that stuff in the pipe that never happens because he only does so much.
Well, this one's on IMDb. It says in post-production. So
okay. So they did film it. Okay.
Is he the actual director of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if he wrote it, too.
So,
probably did.
Well, that's cool.
If he wrote it, I have a chance of me enjoying it. I didn't enjoy Cop Out. He's got a great cast. I like the director, but I think the film was really weak.
Yeah.
He co-wrote it with Andrew McElfresh.
I don't know who that is. You have to Google that guy and see what else he wrote.
Was that guy the director?
Kevin Smith's director.
Okay. That's cool.
So, yeah.
He wrote White Chicks.
Oh,
Kevin
dear.
did?
No, the other guy.
The other guy?
Oh, dear God. This doesn't bode well for the film. He wrote White Chicks.
And he did visual effects on Yoga Hosers.
Oh, no.
That's his only...
He did also write for Rocket Power.
God, just stop it. Just stop. Let's cut this whole segment.
So we talked about those other films, but he's actually done other work, John.
Oh, yeah.
Comic books.
Yes.
TV series.
Yes.
Podcasts.
Yeah. Smodcasts.
Fat Man on Batman is amazing.
It is.
The episode with Grant Morrison right there almost made my top 5.
100% I'll always listen to it.
Anything with Grant Morrison, though, will make your top 5.
Yeah, but that Kevin Smith one, Kevin Smith is like... I've told people recently on the show that I want to find a way to be the Joe Rogan of the comic book YouTube community. But Kevin Smith kind of was the Joe Rogan of the comic book community before Joe Rogan was the Joe Rogan of the Joe Rogan community.
Wow, you just totally fucking...
I got tickets to see Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle in Nashville, and I'm super pumped.
You just inception that whole thing.
Yeah,
together.
How cool is
that?
that?
Later.
To see who?
It comes out in April.
To see who together?
There may still be tickets. It's at Bridgestone. Check it out.
Who?
April 24th in Nashville.
I missed that. Joe Rogan
and Dave Chappelle.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, right. So, other things, and I'll go ahead and start. Out of everything else he's done, and he's directed episodes from the Arrowverse, which Justin's a big fan of, Supergirl and Flash.
Yeah, and Flash.
Did he ever do an Arrow episode?
I don't remember him doing an Arrow.
So.
Probably
I know he did
better of him to not do Arrow.
He didn't get involved with it until... I think Killer Frost was one of the episodes he did.
Yeah, I remember watching his first episode that he did with Flash, and then he did a Supergirl one. I remember watching that, but then I quit that shit. CW.
He did a couple. Couple of each.
I really want to talk about, first of all, his comic book work. His comic book work is phenomenal, for the most part. He did a Batman run. I don't like those at all.
Daredevil.
Daredevil. His initial Daredevil story, Guardian Devil, is one of the best Daredevil stories ever done. Drawn by Joe Quesada.
Did he do Green Arrow?
He did Green Arrow.
Quiver.
Green Hornet.
He did the Green Hornet, which is based on the Green Hornet movie that he wrote, but they never filmed.
Yeah, and it's like the rebirth, right? It's like...
Yeah. And it's not very good because it's one of those things where somebody else kind of adapts his script,
He also did Batman 66 meets Green Hornet.
He did. That was cool. But more particularly, Viewisk Universe type shit, right? He did 3 issues of Clerks that are amazing. Clerks, the comic book. Clerks, the holiday special. Clerks, the Lost Scene.
The Lost Scene is painfully funny.
Now, Jim Mafu did the first 2, and those books are hilarious. And they're if you're a fan of Clerks and you've never read those, you got to get them. They used to be available in a trade. I'm sure they still are, but they're not too hard to find. But they have kind of started creeping up in value. He also did Jay and Silent Bob comic books. They did a couple of appearances in Oni Double Feature. He was real big into the independent comic book scene. That's why he has so many artists that were able to actually appear in Chasing Amy, and he got to use that artwork for Chasing Amy and Mallrats. Yeah. Right? So those Clerks books are amazing. He did those Jay and Silent Bob ones in Oni, and then they did a 4-issue Jay and Silent Bob miniseries called Chasing Dogma, which is the bridge of how they wind up from the diner in Chasing Amy to meeting Linda Fiorentino's character in Dogma. Like, it's a complete bridge. And in fact, the reason why they go to Illinois is because they're trying to find Shermer, Illinois.
Which doesn't exist.
It's the fictional town that the John Hughes movies takes place in.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a shared universe, I guess, but they don't really reference each other. They just take place in the same...
Shermer, Illinois.
Yeah. So, whatever, right? He did the Bluntman and Chronic comic book, 3 issues, with Michael Avon Oeming on the artwork, and it was the 3 issues apparently that Holden McNeil and Banky Edwards were supposed to have done. Those books are amazing. I'll show you guys my Chasing Dogma here when I throw it off, because I got the hardback cover signed by Jason Mewes, Kevin Smith, and Duncan Fegredo, who was the artist. Anyway, out of his other work, comic books, podcast, television, and we're saving the Clerks animated series for John.
I love that goddamn show.
Well, let's get right into it, John. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the animated series, man. Because I do like his comics, although I haven't read all the stuff that you mentioned. But the animated show was so damn funny. If you remember, he pitched it to... Who was... Not before the CW, was it the UPN? He pitched it to the UPN, and then Disney was like, oh, no, you know what? They're going to be gone tomorrow. We're going to take it. Of course, they pick up the show. They fucking just want to edit the shit out of it. They don't want Jason Mewes playing Jay. They can't be drug dealers. They aired them out of order. If you remember, the first episode ended up being like the 4th episode, and the second episode was the second episode. But the original joke for Kevin Smith is the second episode was going to be like a memories episode, where like a flashback
it's
episode.
Flashback episode, yeah.
But of course, when you run it second now, it doesn't make any goddamn sense because you've never seen the original first episode. They ruined it. ABC fucking tanked it from the beginning. But if you watch the actual show in order, mind you, there's like, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
And holy shit, is that funny. I would say it was the funniest show ever.
They aired like episode 5 first, and then they did episode 2.
Yeah, which didn't fucking work.
And the jokes in episode 2 didn't make sense because we never got to see episode 1. But man, when we got to sit down and actually watch that show, I think that's literally funnier than any of these movies.
I love the fucking ending too, where it's always Jay and Silent Bob's like tips or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They kick Charles Barkley's ass.
I'm Jay. I'm Silent Bob. I'm Charles Barkley. What the hell are you doing here? Get out of here.
Giving you like tips for force, fire safety,
I also
and
like
science tips.
How they introduce, I'm Jay. I'm Silent Bob. And if Jay and Silent Bob could talk, and Jay goes on his long rant after Silent Bob has just introduced himself.
Yeah, it really cracks me up. That
talk.
Clerks, the animated series, is amazing. I still have that DVD set. I still watch it, man. It's so fun.
Them going to the burger joint. It's your last day, guys. You guys are going to die. What do you want to do? They go to the burger joint. No, we don't want pickles. They keep going back. And he's like,
just wipe it off.
Yeah, just wipe it off. He's like, did you guys enjoy your last day? He's like, if you mail this, and it's like a complaint to the burger. Dear madam, or sir, we ordered a burger with no pickles.
Then you got Judge Reinhold being the actual judge, which is a joke that they did way before Arrested Development did it. You know? Remember that? Arrested Development? Judge Reinhold was the judge of that show they were doing. My name is Judge.
I thought two of the only shows I've never watched.
Yeah, but I think the judge. I think that one came after Clerks.
Justin doesn't watch animation.
It did come after Clerks.
Yeah, that's why I said he came up with the joke of Judge Reinhold being a judge before Arrested Development even did.
I having that same dream. We're all out of bananas.
What about you, Drew? What other work outside of those films do you like?
When I started collecting comic books, because of when I ran out of fantasy books to read, I started collecting comic books. One of the first books that I got, because I went to a comic book store and just bought a smattering of whatever was cheapest, and one of the ones that I got was Quiver, his Green Arrow, and still really like it. I like Phil Hester a lot because of that, and that's probably. I like Longbow Hunters and Jeff Lemire's, but it's one of towards the top of my Green Arrow stories, which I have no idea how that's viewed in the larger context, because I haven't read an outrageous amount of Green Arrow.
It brought Ollie back. So
yeah,
that was
after
cool.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, which is a dumb long amount of time. For
we had Connor Hawke, who was a superior Green Arrow, but whatever.
Yes. I mean, yes, I also love Grant Morrison's JLA.
And there you go. Well, it's also Chuck Dixon's Green Arrow, which, because Kevin Smith came in, they cut that short. It's kind of like what Bendis just did with Superman, where they're like, oh, Peter Tomasi, fuck you and what you were doing. Bendis is coming on. It's kind of like the same thing, but that was a big deal. His Green Arrow run is good. and his Daredevil run. Have you read his Daredevil?
Yeah, I've read a Guardian Devil.
It's so good. It's the best Mysterio story ever.
Yeah, the one of the other things is actually like I loved Comic Book Men. Like I watched a ton of it because it was right after Breaking Bad.
I think it's so underrated.
Because it was a riff on Pawn Stars, but like it came on right after Breaking Bad, so me and my parents watched it, and it was one of the few times I could actually like get them to interact with me about comics because none of them care. But that was very cool, and that's where I learned like all of their interpersonal relationships. Like they talked about like what they've done in movies and stuff, and like their actual like lives, and it was really cool to actually learn behind some of the people in the View Askew.
Hell yeah. What about you, Justin?
Well, I don't read a lot, so comic
He
books
is
are out on me.
illiterate.
Read
So-
dot.
And I don't watch a ton of animated stuff, so I haven't seen the animated series.
Oh my god, the show is so funny you will
Definitely
pee
should.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But
You'll like it.
It is funny.
But going off of I was just looking at some of he's done 4 Supergirl episodes and 3 Flash episodes, and one of the episodes of Supergirl that he did is called Bunker Hill, which is almost irrelevant. But the episode is
Thanks for bringing it up.
the name of it's irrelevant. But
okay.
the episode is actually going back to what you're talking about earlier about all his good stuff being about angst. There's this storyline in this season 4 of Supergirl where it's kind of a sort of a mirror of what's going on in American politics today. Basically, everybody becomes really xenophobic and they're afraid of aliens. So this group, like it's almost like a KKK type deal because they wear masks and stuff and they go around terrorizing aliens and stuff like that. And then there's like this universe's version of ICE and stuff like that. He directed one of the episodes in that arc, and it's a really good one. So
Is that the one with Jason Mewes, or is that a different one? Because he's in an episode.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob are in it.
Okay, I remember them being in an episode.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know that. They're
Yeah.
actually in there as Jay and Bob.
They're not.
No, they play different
No,
that was a
characters,
joke.
but they're both in it.
Well, they're both in Screen 3, by the
Jason
way.
Mewes is at least in it because his car gets blown up. Everybody's like, "My car," and that's it.
He's
got a
just
very
like a random episode.
Yeah, he's like in some random spot where somebody crushes his car accidentally when they're fighting or something. I do like he has other stuff. I mean, what I've consumed, you know what I'm saying, either comics or TV shows or whatever, I've enjoyed. And I'm sure the few things I haven't read, I would probably enjoy. Let's see. You know what? We haven't talked about yet? Music in his films. He has great taste in music. And I'm sure, though, that Clerks, which is probably my favorite soundtrack to his, wasn't the same that was shown at the film festivals. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure once it got a big-time distributor, they added Soul Asylum and Alice in Chains. But that made me an Alice in Chains fans. But going before that, when I saw Mallrats, that was my introduction. Like I said, I watched the film, enjoy the film, and then the credits, they're walking away with that monkey, which you later learn is Suzanne, but you don't know it at the time. And that Suzanne song kicks on by Weezer, which is a great fucking song, by the way. And that's what really got me into him and looking further into him because of Weezer. So he's got a great taste in music. I think he used music in the right place. I think he's got great taste in music. He's definitely a director who, I don't know, there's some directors you can tell that somebody else is in charge of the music. He's not one of those people. You can tell that he has a passion for good fucking music, in my opinion, or whoever works for him does, apparently.
Morris Day in the motherfucking
Yeah,
time.
Morris Day, motherfucking time. So let's talk about his music, because he's obviously a music fan, and there's some great soundtracks that accompany his films. I'm going to start with Goldsmith.
I fucking knew you were. You were going to do that.
I meant Goldsmith's friend, Drew.
No. Let's go. Because
Let's-
legitimately, I've been trying to think about. I did not look up any of the music from any of the movies because I cannot think of a single song from any of his movies except for Goodbye Horses.
God damn it. You just remember that scene because you jerked to it.
And it was also in Reboot that I watched today.
Yeah. And it's the same goddamn scene because there's certain parts that are like copies of other films.
Oh.
Yeah. Cocksmokers, by the way, is such a fucking great name for a smoked chicken restaurant.
Yes.
Even though it was a front for weed. It's such a fucking good name. Anyway.
Yeah, I legit can't think of any other music from any of the movies.
Okay.
What about the Berserker song? I want to make fuck.
Well,
That's why.
Well,
These
yeah,
are
that
the ones
too,
I'm
yeah.
getting to.
So I knew who Soul Asylum was. I liked Soul Asylum. So I'll fill in for Goldsmith here since he's a fucking didn't do his work or whatever.
well, no, legitimate. Like it
It
didn't hit
music
me
guy.
the same way that it did you guys.
But I
like
feel
scores.
like musically that you're not up to par.
Well,
I
if you
worry
want to talk about
you.
scores, Howard Shore's score for Dogma's pretty good.
yeah,
It
it
is.
is. But well, yeah. There's my answer then.
God damn it!
I didn't realize it was Howard Shore until just
gave
now.
him
But
an out.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Damn it. Anyway,
I
let's
guess
jump
I
to-
don't pay as much
yeah.
attention
So
to
you like
bands
Soul
that are
Asylum?
in
I
it.
do not.
I
But that
like
song's
Soul
okay.
Asylum, but I was not a big Alice in Chains fan. But I became a big Alice in Chains fan because of Clerks.
That's a perfect placement. It got me wrong.
Yeah, and you know what? I love Alice in Chains now. Dude, I fucking love Alice
That's
in
Randall's
Chains.
entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what introduced me to Alice in Chains. And who doesn't like Alice in Chains? If you here's the Alice in Chains fans. You either have heard them and you love them, or you haven't heard them. I don't know how they fucking wouldn't have heard of them, but Alice in Chains were amazing. Rest in peace. I forgot the singer's name that passed away.
Lane Staley.
Thank you.
But he did
And
pass away.
but they have a great soundtrack. All his films have a great soundtrack. He's a fan of, and the score as well. But you can tell that he's a fan of good music. Drew.
Justin went to a little bit of mine. When the songs that always stick out of mine are always like the ones out of like the boombox outside of Clerks.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to make fuck berserker?
Did he say
And-
making fuck?
Did he say making fuck?
Yeah, that's his cousin from Russia.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they actually recorded that song for the soundtrack to play later after that scene
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah, and it's like the "Let me help you out of your chair, Grandma" in Clerks 2, and of course "Goodbye Horses." Like whenever the play button hits on that boombox, like something funny as hell is about to happen, and like a part of this is a generational gap because he, like y'all, are both older than me, and like because when Clerks and Mallrats, I was like under 10 years old. So part of that's the divide that you're finding out right now. So that's why I find like when I recognize these songs, it's like it's specifically tied to the comedy aspect of it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. They have. I mean, really though, you can tell he's a fan of music. He's had some great bands associated with him. And again, whether that's intentional or not, if he's got somebody that his producer or he's got somebody that's in charge of that, I don't know. But he's definitely been in a lot of great bands that I've enjoyed. And really, that really pushed me into it. I did enjoy Mallrats, but the icing on the cake was goddamn Weezer. Because
Yeah.
at the time, they hadn't had a whole lot out
And
that I was cognizant of
the monkey's name is Suzanne because of that song.
because of the song.
Yeah.
That leads into Jay and Silent Bob, which is the how they get the
Yeah,
monkey. and
it's also
everything.
actually in Chasing Dogma too. There's another monkey named Suzanne as well, apparently. I guess Kevin Real is like, people didn't read that comic. like maybe like 40,000 people read that comic, so
You sure it's not the same monkey?
it shouldn't be. Anyway, you gonna ask me now?
I was waiting for you to chime in. I thought
let's
I
do
was,
it. You
I
ready?
was looking at you. People can't see that. I was looking at you.
Howard Shore, which I
Yeah.
gave to
now
Justin.
that I took my eyes off of Goldsmith.
Yeah.
Goldsmith, damn it.
First of all, let's talk about this. There's not memorable music in a Kevin Smith film. Are you fucking kidding me?
No,
what
no,
about
no.
the theme song of Chasing Amy, which is Tube of Wonderful by David Perner?
It's a great song. It's a great
Oh, my
film,
God.
and the music is just like it suits the film so well.
Yes. The Mallrats soundtrack is amazing, John, because that is our soundtrack. Like, you listen to nothing but Lithium on XM, right?
Yeah,
That's what this soundtrack
yeah,
is.
that's 90%. It's
There's-
Clerks and Mallrats.
It's got Line Up by Elastica. It's got Stoned by Silverchair. It's
I
got
love
Bubbles
Silverchair.
by Bush.
I
And it's
love
got that
Bush.
theme song, Social by Squirt Gun. Social Mob. The theme song of Mallrats, man. As soon as that movie starts and it's like do 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 do. That's the generational gap, by the way, y'all.
I guess so.
Yeah, Justin and I just looking at each other like,
The 90s
yes,
had the
we
best
agree.
Also, John said he loves Bush.
Dude, I think Bush is the most underrated band of the 90s.
But
Hey,
think
man,
about
nice
this.
The
shot.
band.
That was Filter. Think about
No, it wasn't.
yeah,
Damn.
it was. That was Filter.
Damn.
What
Yeah.
song did you reference?
Hey man, nice shot.
That is Filter. Is it?
All right, so
Generational gap.
Mallrats, the soundtrack, the movie, it was 95, right? And think about this. They have Bush on there. That's their first, that's like right after their first album,
Yeah.
right? This is a big deal. My favorite though is Clerks.
Young-
Clerks is amazing. The soundtrack. What a Wookiee! Doo, 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 doo. Everything is perfectly placed. He couldn't afford Fleetwood Mac, obviously, but they got Seaweed's cover of "Go Your Own Way," which is really good, right? They've got Me Wrong by Alice in Chains. They got the Soul Asylum song, the only good Soul Asylum song. Let's be honest.
Bullshit. You're still mad. You're still salty about Clerks too.
But I'll tell you this. My favorite song ever used in a Kevin Smith film is the theme to Clerks, which is called Clerks from Love Among Freaks. So save up all your nickels and dimes.
Yeah.
Let's see what we find. And you know. Come on.
Yeah.
I guess I'm living day to day.
It's a great fucking soundtrack.
Nobody else knows the words?
No.
I don't know the lyrics,
Led
but-
astray.
Come on, man.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
You're finding out that you and John love these movies so much
Yes.
more than me and Drew do.
No. I love the movie. I just don't recognize any of the fucking
We were
music.
teenagers.
That song
when
they
is
were
so
first
fucking
coming.
good.
You guys were mall rats. We were
We were
in
mall
elementary
rats.
school.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We were Mallrats in 1995.
Yeah, 'cause the
So-
malls,
I was in
the malls had
kindergarten that
died.
year.
Yes.
Anyway, I think his choice and Morris Day in the time and how look at when you watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and him and Jay are up there on stage with Morris Day in the time and they're doing the dance with him. Look at the joy in Kevin in his face. He's like, I've reached the tip.
Yeah,
I can do whatever the fuck I want now.
just the tip.
Yep.
Just see how it feels. He's. You can tell that there's certain bands he really loves, and obviously they integrate those in the films. And on top of that, his other films just have great soundtracks.
Another
and I
one.
do like the throwback from Clerks 2 having Soul Asylum back, and maybe that
Yeah.
song's overplayed, but I love Clerks 2 obviously more than you. But
Yeah,
I
you
do
do.
feel that the song was so appropriate at the time.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know.
I'll tell you another one. You talked about how hilarious it is every time Jay hits play on the boombox. What about the Stabbing Westward song from Clerks, where he's dancing and then Silent Bob starts dancing?
Yeah.
Just randomly.
He starts doing crazy
Shit,
too,
shit,
man.
you
shit
know-
in the background.
When you watch Clerks, you know nothing about Silent Bob. So when he does that, you're like, what the fuck?
Because he doesn't fucking talk until he gives his advice.
Another great song, of course, is Noise, 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 Smoking.
Smoking
weed,
weed.
doing coke, drinking beers. Pack a res, my man. Time to kick back. I love in the Clerks, by the way, when he looks at Dante, he's like, we get off at the same time every night. He's a drug dealer.
Yeah. Well, obviously he closes because the store is closed. Nobody's
Yeah.
fucking there.
Yeah, he's like, we get off at the same time every night. You should come to this party with me. And he is part of the union, remember?
Yeah,
Tracy
he's got that
Morgan
card.
and Jennifer. I don't know what the fuck you just said, man, but it touched me.
What's the song he sings too? Little man, put that shit in.
$15, little man, put that shit in my hand.
And then
And
those
if
dudes.
they're in reboot.
Yeah.
It'd be $200. We've been waiting 25 years to do this.
Yeah, right.
Great fucking music. Great music. So we're gonna take a little break now. Are we taking a break? Oh
Yep.
fuck
Yeah.
yeah, we're taking a break. I just pulled that out of my ass, and apparently it's real. We're taking a break. When you come back, your top 5 or your favorites. I'm sorry, our top 5. Yeah,
That's the meat we were talking about
yeah.
earlier.
That's
Yeah,
the
we're
fucking
meat.
actually dessert. That's the chocolate lava cake in this show.
No. That's the after hours. You got to pay for that.
Yeah, you got to pay extra for the fucking lava
For the
cake.
dessert, yeah. Plus, we already called this the meat. You can't go changing the formula.
Maybe we're vegans, bitch.
Well,
Tofu.
Fucking impossible meat.
So when we come back, the tofu of the show, the impossible meat of the show.
Or
On the
meat,
Kevin
if you
Smith-
prefer.
Yeah.
What the fuck,
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I try to occasionally eat something vegetarian. Like the other day, you know what I had for dinner? PB&J.
It's veggie.
That's not vegetarian. It's not vegan. Don't they use like horse hooves or something in the jelly? I don't know. We're gonna take a break.
It's gelatin, sure.
We're gonna take a break. When we
And
come back,
some jellies.
we take it back. We're
Yes.
Which way take it back? I think I'm drunk.
make a dick joke. We haven't made enough.
By
Yeah.
the way, everybody, John just said, I think I'm drunk, and he's drinking Natter Days.
I had to drink a lot of them.
All right, for the next segment, Dutch Rudder. Let's go.
When we come back, yeah, we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the show. Talk about our top 5. Talk about Robbie's gonna reach out to social media. Talk about their favorite Kevin Smith films. We'll come back in Pop Culture Philosophers.
Their favorite, like they're not the ones listening.
Kevin Smith. Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm John Hammertime Holshoe. With me always, Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Yay.
We're going to get to the meat and potato of the show is our top 5, our favorite Kevin Smith films. We're talking about the great Kevin Smith, Sir Kevin Smith. I don't think he's actually knighted. You know what? I know there's like a place online.
Can we give him our first PCP night?
You can, you can like go and pay a service online to like some country, and they'll knight people. Should we knight Goldsmith?
I'm already knighted.
Oh, never mind.
3 countries.
Maybe we should start.
Are you fucking serious?
I think we could start our own PCP knighthood and like just send Kevin a very official, regal-looking letter, and maybe he'll retweet it or some shit.
Yeah, that would be great. We kind of sidetracked you. So our top 5's coming up. But Robbie, I think, reached out to social media, the Facebooks, the what else is out there?
Actually, for this, we just reached out to the PCP Army.
The PCP Army, which you can join.
I did mention
on
it
Facebook.
on a YouTube live stream, but I never went back and wrote those down.
And they're the favorite Kevin Smith films of these great individuals that support us.
The first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to some people that were on a stream last night with me. So there's some great comic book YouTubers. Right?
Yeah, I saw you were streaming on a Friday night, which kind of threw me off.
Yeah, well, we had our first monthly meetup where we talk about our favorite comic books of the month. So it was really fun.
Cool beans.
We hosted it this time, and it's going to be on Dylan's channel next. Anyway, speaking of Dylan from Dylan's Comics on YouTube.
Not Dylan McDermott.
Yeah. No. But by the way, you should subscribe to all these channels if you haven't already. Dylan says Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back is his favorite.
That's a hilarious film.
Bob from Everything Comics says Clerks.
Oh, he talks. He's not Silent Bob.
Yes. And Bueller from Comics with Bueller said Dogma.
Is his real name Bueller?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I call him Bueller. Nobody uses their real name on YouTube.
Except for you.
But I'm still Rockin' Robbie. Like did you watch my interview with that news show in London? Did you watch that? I was on a news show.
I did.
I was on a news show in London, and this British ass dude on this like CNN looking show calls me Rockin' Robbie Billups. You haven't seen that?
I have not seen
They
that.
haven't either.
They did a whole episode about the locust plague in East Africa or whatever, the Horn of Africa, right?
Yeah.
And they asked me to be on it, and I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because we want to talk about locusts and pop culture and comic books."
How many how much time did you spend in the Google search for locusts in comics and locusts in film?
To be honest with you, like Nathan and Mike at work helped me real quick because Mike mentioned came up with some things that I immediately thought of Bone.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, good book.
And then Nathan from work was like, "Dude, yeah, like ID4, Independence Day, they call them space locusts," and I was like, "Holy shit, you're right. I'll do it." But the crazy thing is, I had to fucking sit down at this fucking computer, right? And they told me be ready for our time. It was 8:15 because they're in London, so it's in the afternoon, right? Mm. So at 8:15, they're like, "Be ready because we're going live at 8:30." So I sat there for a fucking hour until they brought me in.
Jesus.
So for 1 fucking hour, I'm just sitting here staring at the fucking webcam,
Doing nothing.
drinking coffee, nervous as shit. Just being like, what am I going to do? Everybody says I did well. You haven't seen that?
Oh, fuck.
Because you're not part of the PC fucking Army.
I need to be.
Justin
PCP
is posts a lot, but I'm the only one here that watched it.
Well, thank you.
Justin doesn't do shit at work but watch videos.
No, we'll show it to you after the show.
I promise after this, I will pleasure myself to that.
Now, I think you'll be impressed with how sophisticated the show was.
You've branched out to the UK.
Yeah.
You're worldwide, bitch.
And so it's a UK produced show. It's produced in London, but it's actually aired for the first time in Turkey. It's Turkish television news.
That's all that matters. We were trying to get more Turkish.
Yeah.
Dude, you were on TTN?
Turkish people are a delight, so let's...
Yeah. I think that's...
Is that a Turkish delight?
I just abbreviated it. I don't know.
There's some channel, I think that's very similar to what that it's called Nexus, but TN something world. It's something like that. Like, I'm serious. It's Turkish television.
I'm not downplaying it.
Now it's on the internet. Anyway, from the PCP Army. Favorite Kevin Smith film. We start off with Eric with a bold choice. Red State, he says.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah. Stephen T says Mallrats. Liam H says Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Erica says Dogma, close second Mallrats. Johnny Bam says Mallrats and Chasing Amy. Chris C says Chasing Amy, but it's a hard choice. So many good ones. Will the Priest says Clerks 2. Carl Koweski says it's got to be Clerks. James Donahoe, friend of the show, says Dogma. All these people are friends of the show. Brian A says Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma. That's cheating. That's 3. Dylan says, that son of a bitch. Dylan Sullivan, who did the Reaper challenge with me, said Reboot hit close to home for me.
Oh, nice reboot.
Aaron says Mallrats. Scott says Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Hunter says Tusk. Jeremy, we all know Jeremy, says Dogma. Todd says Chasing Amy and Mallrats. Sammy says Clerks and Mallrats. Mike the Voice Matthew says Dogma. Tim says Clerks. Hermione says Clerks for sure. Joey says Clerks 2. Tommy Rivethead says Dogma. Jelani, yeah, that asshole, says Mallrats. And I believe him because I know him.
Even though Ben Affleck is in the film, he still said Mallrats.
Yeah, because he's an asshole in the film.
Can't believe it.
Copia says Chasing Amy, and Tusk is a strong second. And back in the 90s when we worked at the movie theater, our good friend Ted, the projectionist.
Oh, Ted is awesome.
Fuck, what did he say? I just closed it.
But he was a projectionist, and he was awesome.
He was. He still is awesome, but I don't think he's a projectionist. Oh, he still is a projectionist.
No, he's not. They don't have those anymore. No, they don't. He's a manager there, but they don't have those anymore.
But they still have They still have projectors. Just to clarify,
they do, but they don't. It's not the same job.
It's like video.
They're digital. Yeah, I know. I worked in that when when it changed over. I was working film and I worked digital. And let me tell you,
he says Mallrats.
Those lazy fucks.
Ted said Mallrats.
Okay, all that anticipation for Mallrats.
Oh, by the way, when I was doing my notes for the rundown, look at that little. I did that in like 5 seconds.
That's Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, nice. Look at that.
They're smoking.
Yeah, Jay looks like he may have had better days.
No, look at that Jay face. Does that not look like the Jay from the animated series?
Okay, you got Jay right. I take it back. Silent Bob looks like he was in a car accident.
Yeah. Looks like a robot Frankenstein.
But that being said, if I didn't know who you were and you just handed me that, I'd be like, hey, it's Jay and Silent Bob.
That heart attack fucked up Kevin Smith more than I thought.
Anyway, that's the top 5. Thank you guys. That's the top 5. That's the social media. Thank you for joining us here at the PCP Army. If you're not on the PCP Army, it's our official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group. We're all on there. We'll chat with you. We'll talk to you. And we like to share we like to share cool news about pop culture and comic books and TV and movies and shit. Seriously, sometimes I get some of my first breaking pop culture news from the PCP Army.
Yeah.
And we also like to share funny fucking pictures and memes and shit.
If they join, what are the odds we ship them overseas?
Who's going to pay for
1%.
that? It's not
Okay, it might still happen.
You're saying there's a chance.
I'm just going to say, Bernie would send you to war before we did.
I don't think that would happen.
Well,
now let's get to our top 5. So that was some great choices. I was surprised that so many people had Tusk selected.
Yeah, me too, to be honest with you.
Unless those people are fucking with us.
Well, they must have stopped watching after 40 minutes. They got too high and fell asleep.
Maybe they enjoyed the payoff. Maybe they liked the costume.
I fucking hate that film.
Interesting choices. We appreciate you guys chiming in. That's an integral part of the show, so I appreciate everybody's choices, even though I don't agree with other choices. Interesting choices.
That's why they get a top 1 and we get a top 5.
So I'm interested in your folks' top 5. The people at this table. It's a very selective group. We got Robbie, Drew, Goldsmith, Timothy Dalton. He's very quiet. He probably won't even chime in.
Love you in Doom Patrol.
Yes. The greatest Bond. So I want to actually start with Sir Justin Goldsmith. You really are knighted.
3 countries.
3 countries. I want to start calling you Sir Justin Goldsmith.
I'm not.
Okay.
Just for the record, we were at Arby's the other day, and somebody asked if we were friends. I don't even know what it means. If they thought we were brothers, lovers, I don't know. Are you guys friends? That's such a weird fucking question.
Yeah,
and I made a reference about possibly being his dad and something about his mom or something. I don't know where to go. I got frightened.
I'll be honest with you, John. You kind of look like you could be his dad.
I could say it. If you knew Justin's dad, you'd
if
realize there's
Justin
absolutely
shaved
no chance.
and you didn't shave.
There were certain situations where he does call me daddy.
And what's crazy is you're only 10 years older than him, so it could technically almost maybe be a possibility.
We're going to have to get a DNA test. He does
I'm speechless. I can't even, I don't know.
All right,
Top 5.
Okay.
Do you remember when I said this segment had to be fast?
Yeah.
Says me.
Okay,
Who went on this
Talking
whole
about
spiel.
the Turkish News Network
right.
and John being my dad.
So, top 5. You were getting your voice. I'm going to start with Drew. Your top 5, if you can narrow down to your top 5, in reverse order, your favorite.
I love how John always says, if you can narrow it down.
Because sometimes it's difficult.
Even though we have to. But anytime anybody does an honorable mention or a tie, he
I will
gets
punch
pissy.
him in the dick.
No honorable mentions. 5.
Thank you.
Other people on this table might not. The number 5, I got Mallrats. 4, I have.
Great film, funny film.
Yes.
His first film with like a budget. It was his second film after Clerks, and the people that complain about it, and I enjoy the film. He's like, hey man, I didn't know I was young, and I finally had some money, and they gave me all this money to make a film, and I made a mistake. So he's apologetic, but it's a great fucking film.
All right, Natterday John, this is Drew's segment.
Thanks, bro. You filled in for me. Thank
number
you.
4. Number 4, The Double Deuce.
Speaking of Double Deuce, Zack and Miri, where you can never set covered in shit again.
Wait, number 4 is Zack and Miri?
Yes.
It's almost
Hilarious.
spewed beer all over my mic.
Hilarious film.
I don't know. 3, I have Dogma. I have seen that, like, out of any of his movies, I've seen that movie the most because it's been on, like, cable TV
It's
lot.
also a fantastic film.
Yeah. And as I've mentioned before, it's Selma Hayek, so. And 2, I have Clerks. 1.
The original Clerks. The film that probably most people are introduced to first when it comes to Kevin Smith. Great film.
Clerks, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clerks, period.
Technically.
Yeah.
1.
And you're number 1.
I will probably get booed, but it is Clerks 2. And now I'm
Holy
not saying
shit.
I'm not.
Holy shit.
I'm not saying it is the best film, but I have the strongest
It's your personal favorite.
Yeah, I have the strongest emotional connection to it because, like, I'd seen the film, and one night, as happened many millions of times, like, people came over to my house like late at night, and this time, like, a couple of friends were having girl trouble. And when they came over, and I was like, when you feeling down, like, they just didn't want to do anything, and
we've all been there.
Yeah, me too, especially. They were like, all right, and I was like, you know what, fine. I just like grabbed what I had near me. I put on Clerks 2, and I poured like a giant bowl of Chex Mix, and I was like, we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna watch this, and that's.
Okay, not eat cereal. Chex Mix. I'm thinking,
pour milk in the Chex Mix.
I was about to be like, did you put milk in that shit?
the salty treat.
That would be so nasty.
First time when you said pour, I think you go like bourbon or something. Pour a big bowl.
I bet
of
the rye chips
Chex
would be good,
Mix.
but whatever.
I had the chicken and waffle cereal. We actually did a review on the channel, but it tasted like fucking maple like cereal with ramen seasoning on it. It's so fucking wrong.
You're probably closer than
but
you
the
think.
maple bacon one was so good
Because that's just a smoke flavor, so that'll work.
Yeah.
But no, Clerks 2, like, I can probably quote a bunch of it because, like, these same friends, like, decided to get drunk several times, and we would watch that movie because it was their favorite now.
I don't really like Clerks 2 that much, but I love Randall's just simplification of the Lord of the Rings films because it's spot on.
just walking, my guy.
And I just recently watched them in Russian, and they're really good.
He does make a valid point though. He's like, why didn't they ride on those fucking those eagles or those birds or whatever? He makes a valid point.
Yeah.
Clerks 2 I love. Clerks 2 I was a little bit worried him bringing those characters back, how he was going to follow up. I know Robbie doesn't love it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, especially since my old roommate had drugged me there. Well, took me there.
Drugged you and took you there?
To specify. He dragged me there?
Mr. Weinstein.
I was wearing drag. I was hungover as shit.
You see that fucker show up in court with that little walker and
fucking
shit?
walker.
What the fuck?
I was
His lawyer was so sad.
super hungover, and the last thing I wanted to do was fucking go to the movies. And he's like, come on, you promised me to go see Clerks 2. So I went there, and to hold on the alcohol, I had a pretzel, because they had pretzels there, and a soda.
Was it chocolate covered?
It was not.
Pour milk on it.
And I loved Clerks 2. I think it's a great follow-up to Clerks. I think it bookends the View Askew-niverse, even though he did more films since then.
Yeah.
But I love Clerks 2. I think it's a great top 5, for sure.
Thank you.
And I'm happy that they're mostly Askew-niverse films.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where he hits it out of the park. A lot of people may not agree. They may love X or Y. But
audiences don't. Box office, super low. Zack and Miri is the highest on there.
And like we were saying, Zack and Miri could technically
fall into that category.
because of Justin Long's lawyer character, right?
Yeah, now we could. Yeah, you're right. So now I'm going to get to Goldsmith, who's probably still working on his top 5 because he's a cunt. Goldsmith.
Wow. Wow.
I guess on the Kevin Smith, and like John thinks we're in 1996 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I didn't bring
we
up
did
any
say
of
we
it.
were going to make dick and fart jokes, but I guess it's 2020, so we got to bring the females in too.
Here's the thing. Let's just actually step back. Earlier, Goldsmith's like, hey, I'm going to come over early to your house, and then we'll go to Robbie's, and we'll do the podcast. I said, okay, give me some time, dude. I got to work on my notes. I got to finish my notes for the show. Have you done yours yet? He said, fucking no. So I'm not too far off base because I feel like he's working on his top 5. He's got his laptop out. He's doing some sort of search.
I'm tinkering. I'm doing the last
He's
second
searching
tinker.
for black dicks.
Dude, this is our 47th episode. Why is this news to you?
Yeah,
Goldsmith.
Exactly.
facts.
We give him slack because he's an actor.
I kept going back, and so I'll tell you why I'm...
Like, first of all, Justin, John wants to say this, but he won't say it. Me and John spent a lot of fucking time on this. I didn't
Is
have...
that right?
I
Because
didn't...
I was talking to John all day.
Hey!
He said he did it in 10 minutes.
This shit's about you, not me.
This
Wow.
is one of the easier ones to
Yeah.
do.
John,
Yeah.
meet the bus.
Anyway, the reason I'm fucking around with my notes right now is because I thought Tusk might sneak its way into the top 5, but because it does change so much for the last half of the movie, it kind of messes with it. I really like that movie a lot, but
It's because of Robert Rodriguez.
Yes, it is. He directed the second half.
it's not as good as Zack and Miri is funny. So that's my number 5, Zack and Miri.
I agree. Oh, Zack Miri is fucking hilarious.
Do you remember
like, painfully
we
fun.
worked at the video store when that came out,
Yeah,
Justin.
yeah.
And there were 2 copies of that available. The same movie, but one said Zack and Miri make a porno, and one said Zack and Miri.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, it's the same fucking movie, y'all. Like, this one seems clean.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like,
Yeah, they had to
rated
retitle it. I guess he fought with the MPAA. They wanted to title it NC-17. He finally had submitted the movie,
Yeah.
and they changed to R, even though he made no cuts.
You're right. There is a.
It was the title.
Is it just that there is an unrated version versus the rated version though, right? That is the point too, maybe.
Well, that being said,
Maybe.
theatrically, it was Zack and Miri make a porno. When it released to tape, they released the same version,
to tape.
DVD, Beta, Max.
Which, by the way, yeah, the first time I owned Kevin Smith movies was on VHS.
I agree.
Yeah,
Although I bought a DVD player for the Clerks animated series.
Mallrats was the first DVD I
collection.
ever bought, man.
Oh, mine was Clerks animated. So
Yeah, look at
we
that.
both bought for Kevin Smith films. It was a
Yeah.
big deal.
Back in the year 2000.
In the year
I remember talking to the guy at Circuit City. I'm like, does it support surround sound? He's like, do you have surround sound? I'm like, no.
Yeah, right. Where are we at?
But I had big dreams, man.
We're on Justin's top 5.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
so
that was
fun.
my number 5, actually.
We really sidetracked. His number 5 is Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Is
Yes.
the actual title of the film.
My
Depending
number 4,
on...
I'm gonna blow through the rest of these, and we can comment on them if you want.
Number 4 is Lord of the Rings.
Did you look at my
The
laptop?
Russian version.
No, number 5,
Oh,
Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Number
I hit
4,
my tooth on the mic.
I thought you did. My number 5 is Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Number 4 is Mallrats. Number
Hilarious.
3 is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Number 2 is Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Nice.
And number... Oh, wait, what the
One
fuck?
would be numerically.
So I
number
just
one
lost
would
my
be-
number 1.
He's like, my number 0. Fuck.
Actually, I fucked up when I was messing with my notes.
His number 1 is Star Trek
My number
DS9.
5. My number 5 was Zack and Miri got booted off.
Okay.
Zack.
No, that's not what it's called. It's called Zack and Miri
Mallrats was
Make a
my
Porno.
number 5.
Oh, you're redoing it.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have figured that out. I'm sorry, people listening.
Mallrats was my number 5. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was number 4. Reboot was number 3. Clerks was my number 2, and Dogma's number 1.
Okay.
I stand.
Yeah.
I stand earlier when
So
I called
Zack
you
and Miri,
a cunt.
which we spent like 5 minutes on, is your honorable mention.
I guess. And Tusk is not.
I will hope
A
Drew
dishonorable mention.
Drew
Yeah.
assaults him after this show. So what was your number 1 again?
Well,
Dogma.
Dogma.
I got a question. Why reboot over Strike Back?
It's a good question. And it's because it has more, like, I'm a big fan of sequels that happen way after. like way, I mean, like I'm talking about, like, with Tron Legacy. Like, we've talked about this before.
The perfect sequel.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Yes, yes, we have. But, there's, to have so many references to all the other stuff that happened so, like, over 20 years ago for most of it, at least 15 years, it's great. I love that.
Fan service. And what's wrong with fan service?
No, there's nothing wrong with fan service, and
Well,
it's
When I say fan service, I don't mean like nudity, because sometimes I think people use that as
that's
the
how
term
it is
fan
in like
service.
anime and
But I think
Oh, yeah.
in general, it's catering to the fans
yes.
Well,
Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is
for
like,
the Askewniverse fans.
it's fan service
Yeah.
because it was actually produced by the fans.
yeah, oh yeah, it was M Universe or whatever
M.
the
Night
M. Night
Shyamalan.
I was
No,
going with
that-
that. I was
that-
going with too.
that fan
No, I know what you're the
production
fan
company,
owned thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like
Disney?
Strike Back is Strike Back is fan service, right?
Strike
'Cause
Back is fan service.
it
but
doesn't stand-
Reboot is
Reboot's fan service too. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like, but Strike Back is also a road film.
yeah.
And it's one of those Hollywood farces where actors are there making fun of themselves, like
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, right? What are we gonna do, Will? You know what I'm saying? And Reboot does the same thing. Kevin Smith is making fun of himself. He calls himself out on Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck does that. They call him out on Batman. Batman was bombing Phantoms. Batman was the Batman was bombing
yeah.
Phantoms.
You were the
What?
fans. You were bombing
Anyway,
Batman.
and Kevin
you know?
Smith's like, calling himself out on like Cop Out and shit, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it's really, really fucking funny.
Yeah, it's all the callbacks and everything. It's just-
The movie had more heart to me than Strike Back.
I
Yeah.
think Strike Back stands, even though it's a fan service film that really is on the heels of those other films. It stands better on its own, but Reboot is a better film and really funny. And there's more callbacks. There's more fan service.
Strike Back feels like a Cheech and Chong film.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that's what was the purpose.
And so the Clerks 2 is still technically in pre-production, but
Three?
it keep
Three?
3
Two.
is what I meant. Yeah,
If
But
two
it
is in
keeps-
pre-production, then I fucking traveled through time.
By the way, he first mentioned Clerks 2 after Dogma. Remember at the end
Yeah,
of the
they
credits?
will return.
Yeah.
but it's
So,
it's, like all that
Bond
stuff
used
keeps
to
getting
do.
pushed back, and I wouldn't be surprised if they never actually happened because Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is like the perfect retrospective for the whole.
I also
USQ
wouldn't be
universe.
surprised.
That could be the end right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now he still has he got the Mallrats shit worked out. So they still plan Twilight of the Mallrats, which is based on his original
I'm
script
happy they got it resolved.
for Die Hard in a Mall.
Yeah.
Which, when they did Mallrats, they thought that this was going to be the biggest fucking movie of the 90s, right? They thought this was going to be the biggest teen movie of the 90s.
It was
They
not.
thought they were going to be what American Pie was 4 years later,
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
right? It didn't happen. But, like, at the time, they planned this second movie, like Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier, and who we haven't mentioned tonight. Scott Mosier is his producer. Yeah.
And he also was the guy that he follows her 37 dicks or whatever.
Yeah, he played Willem,
Yeah.
the first Willem.
Yeah. Not
there's
Ethan
two Willems.
Suplee, who took over the
Yeah,
role.
There's two Willem. That's another great performance. You know?
Yeah.
There is no fucking Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Over there, that's just a guy in a suit. When he looks at that little girl and he's like, "You dumb bastards."
It's a sailboat. A schooner is a sailboat. A schooner.
I love
Not
that.
Sooner.
I love that so much. But what the fuck were we saying?
You were talking about how handsome and hot Ethel Suplee has got since he started working out.
Yes, he did. But him and Scott Mosier came up with the idea for Mallrats 2. It was going to be Die Hard in a Mall. And that is still the plan
I will
for Twilight.
I will go see that shit.
Twilight of the Mallrats.
I will go day one. I'm there.
Yeah.
Maybe pre-day one. You used to do that previous night.
And
but
Clerks
this-
3, because they were going to do this a few years ago. Jeff Anderson didn't want to do it, and now he wants to do it.
Yeah, I think Jeff Anderson felt like he didn't get enough royalties, or he felt like he was unpaid.
It's because Clerks is all he has, man.
Yeah, but he's also the
But
best
if I was
part.
Jeff Anderson, I'd do
Yeah.
the same thing.
I'm not knocking Dante. I think that Brian does a fantastic job.
Who's also in Reboot, who plays Dante and Grant.
yeah. He's also in
you remember-
multiple
there-
films.
dude, the very end when he like they show Dante walking up and tries to open the door.
Yeah.
and he goes, "Fuck, whatever." And then
Dude.
it goes to the credits for a second, cuts back. We've been coming to this store every day for 25
Dude,
years.
that's
That's
the
my
best fucking
favorite
part.
bit.
The lock.
That's the best part because
And that's why it's perfect to end it there.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
But we're getting Clerks 3 and
Brian
Mallrats.
O'Halloran plays 3 different Hicks characters. There's Dante, there's Grant, who's the newscaster, and
Yeah.
there's Gil, who's the long-haired dipshit guy who's on the dating show at the end of Mallrats.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was a Hicks and he's in the
There's
same
three.
family.
All 3 characters' last name is Hicks, so I assume they're brothers, maybe triplets.
Cousins.
Dante, Gil, and
Yeah.
Grant.
The Hicks.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did want to mention before we get off of my top 5 that Clerks is at number 2 because of not it didn't inspire me to get into film, but it really is an inspiring story of how he started to go to film school and he's like, "Why am I spending all this money on this when I could just make a movie and figure out how to do it?"
And that doesn't always work with people. They think they know better, and they try to go and do X or Y, and they fail. But in this particular case, I guess he did.
Yeah. If you want to build a house, don't ask somebody how to build a house. Just build a house.
Yeah. So that works out for you. Figure out the plumbing on your
That
own.
explains the states.
In this day and age, though, you probably could go on YouTube and figure out how to fucking run plumbing and do drywall and stuff. So talk about drywall. Robbie, I'm interested to know your top 5.
My number 5 is Superman Beyond.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not knocking it.
No, I do have an honorable mention.
Oh, God damn it. You fucking fuck.
My honorable mention is Clerks, the animated series.
Oh, my God. That passes. It's so good.
For my number 5, I have a tie.
What the fuck?
I have,
Another honorable mention.
I have Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Which are similar films.
I think they both work so well together. Reboot really hit me with how much it actually had a heart. Like Kevin had something to say again finally. Yeah. And it was about the importance of family. And like you said with Reboot, like Affleck kind of nails it there as Holden McNeil at the end. Seeing that coda for Chasing Amy was amazing.
Yeah.
My number 4, Mallrats. First one I watched. Still has a close place to my heart. I love Brody. I kind of am Brody. I feel like I've grown up a little bit, but I feel like Brody grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
He works at a comic shop now. He actually runs his own.
Yeah, his own one in the mall.
I work for someone else.
Yeah.
But still, I've made my life my passion, and that's kind of cool. That's what we've all done, really.
He doesn't have a successful YouTube channel.
He could.
He might.
If he didn't waste all that time in Scientology. My number 3 is Dogma, because Kevin Smith is Catholic, and he had issues and questions about his faith, and he turned it into a very passionate project that out of everything he's ever done, he's made some of the most vulgar, terrible jokes. You can watch some of his old films and be like, if people just pull this, if this stuff came out today, like Clerks and Mallrats, people would be like, oh, he's homophobic, and he's sexist, and he's racist, and right? Yeah. No.
I'm surprised it's your number 3, because I thought it was me. I honestly swear to God, I thought it was your number 1.
Well, it's one of his best films. The top 3 to me are like his creme de la creme. Yeah. And Dogma, he's like actively going against his upbringing, right? And that's something I think Bueller said, and it's amazing. My number 2 is Clerks. Clerks just, every time I watch it, it never feels slow. It always feels fast. It's always funny. When Caitlin fucks that fucking dude, that dead dude in the fucking bathroom.
Oh my God.
Like, it's so fucking funny, and it's a terrible thing, But like, it works so well. And then you think about the expanded universe. Yeah, there's Clerks too, and it works, and that's cool. But the comic book, the Clerks comic book is so fucking good, y'all. My number 1 is Chasing Amy from '97. I think Chasing Amy is his most personal film. Yeah. I think it's his best film. I know some people have problems with the ending, but remember, Clerks didn't have a happy ending. Mallrats had a happy ending because it was his first studio picture.
But happy ending?
Well, T.S. gets back with Brandy, and Brody gets back with Renee.
I guess that's true.
And Shannon gets arrested for statutory rape or whatever, right? So yeah, it does have a happy ending. But Chasing Amy, it gets a lot of flack for not having a happy ending. But I think that's one of the truest, most real love stories I've ever seen on film, is Chasing Amy. And I think the performance, I think it's Ben Affleck's best performance, Joey Warren Adams. I think it's Jason Lee's best performance. I fucking love the film. And another fantastic character. Hooper X? Or is it Hopper X? Hopper X, right? Hooper X.
That's Hooper.
Yeah.
The
Hooper
comic
X,
book writer?
Oh my God. Yeah. The guy that does Black Rage or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
White
shoots
Hayden
the
Coon.
guns or whatever.
White
and everybody
Hayden
runs
Coon.
out.
That's the name of the comic book that he does. White Hayden. Now, my book.
He takes off his mask and he's a white guy? Or don't we all want to be white? Whatever he says.
Yeah.
Whatever he pisses him off.
What's a Nubian?
Yes.
Bitch, you almost made me laugh. Then you find out at the end of Jay and Silent Bob that Banky and Hooper X wind up together.
It's good for them.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And Mallrats was about one of the characters was a big comic book fan, but Chasing Amy was a movie about comic book creators.
Yeah. A writer and you're just a tracer, man.
Yeah. And
Anchor.
You know me, and you know I've been in comic books my whole life pretty much. And I fucking love that film. And I think it's his most true and personal and nuanced film he's ever done.
Great message, great cast.
And beautifully done.
Yeah.
Like the way it's directed, that scene when right as they're falling in love and Alyssa doesn't want to quite admit it yet, and they're like walking down that shit arguing in the rain until they eventually end up in that embrace and kiss, right? And they wind up together. Shit is filled with so much passion. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I honestly think I like Ben Affleck. I think he's a good writer. I think he's a good director. I think he's done a lot more than than originally he was credited for.
Well, I don't know, Will. What do we do?
Yeah, he's done a really good job. Obviously, he's not one-dimensional.
I've always loved Ben Affleck.
Yeah, but I think he really proved himself with films like The Town. But I go look back, and his best film, I still think today, is Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy's great.
Yeah. So my top 5, some of it mirrors your top 5, except we depart on number 5, which is Clerks 2. I really do enjoy Clerks 2. I know you're not a big fan of it. I think it was a good bookend for this universe, even though it didn't bookend it. I like the fact that they used this whole Asylum song, even though it might have been a song that was overplayed. I just love seeing those characters. Maybe it was the fact that I wanted to see... I didn't want to see Jeff and Brian playing these bit roles. I wanted to see him play Dante and Randall.
Do you know what I hate so much about that movie? It doesn't take place at Quick Stop.
It takes place at movies.
Movies. I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
The Donkey Show?
I do know
and
he's
the whole movie,
by
the way,
show.
leads up to the fucking Donkey Show. That's the climax of the fucking film.
He fucking hates the
Absolutely.
Donkey
I
Show.
fucking hate that
In more
shit.
than one way.
Yeah.
That movie is too on the nose with its crassness.
I don't disagree, but I still like the movie more than you do, I guess.
I'm a classier guy than you are.
Well, who's knighted?
That's debatable.
Number
you paid
4
for that, motherfucker. You're like Bloomberg.
Number 4 is Zach and Miri. I think it's his best film outside this universe. It's hilarious. He did Red State. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Although I enjoyed it, it's not what I expected. Although there's something to be said about comedy and horror, the way it's delivered. The same people can do one, can do the other, apparently.
Sam Raimi can do it.
Yeah, when it works for the people that did New Halloween. I mean, Danny McBride was one of the writers, and he's not known for horror, but the New Halloween is fantastic.
Seth Rogen was a producer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy that ruined Kevin Smith's career by giving him a joint.
So Zach and Miri is fucking hilarious. It's got a great cast. I love Seth Rogen. It's just so damn funny. Number 3, Dogma. I'm not a religious person. I grew up in a religious environment. I have religious relatives. My parents tried to get me to go to... I did go to church for a long time every Sunday. I hated getting up early in the morning on my weekday off, but I'm just not a religious person. But Dogma hit home. I think it's a great film. I love the fact that when people are boycotting the film, that Kevin went there and boycotted with them. And they're like, you look like that guy. He's like, oh, really? Yeah, I just love the fact that he was boycotting with them. Great film, great cast.
The reason I think Dogma is so good, like why I think it's his best movie, is because it's like the best middle ground of all the good stuff he's done. Like, it's got all the drama and stuff of Chasing Amy.
And it's got the dick and fart jokes.
Dick and fart jokes from Jay and Silent Bob.
And it has a scale.
Yeah. And it's an intelligible story.
What's Ben Affleck's character? Bartleby,
yeah.
His journey, like why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
And that's Kevin screaming out at God, like, what the fuck is the point?
Yeah.
And
then you've got not only the View Askew universe, but you've got all this. Well, they say in the movie that he doesn't like to have it referred to as mythology, but all the Christian lore,
Catholic
in with it too.
Lore, but you're right,
Catholic,
it's the same. Yeah,
it is.
And did you guys love Loki coming back in Reboot for that scene? Because was that not great?
Yeah.
Hey,
they made the Jason Bourne reference.
Yeah, I was born again. Number 2, Chasing Amy. I think Chasing Amy is actually his best film. So we're not going by the best, we're going by favorites. Chasing Amy, I just thought, it just seemed like a more, I don't know, his best written, best directed. It was more like hit you in the your heart. You know what I'm saying? It was great cast, and it's a great film.
It was almost his first standalone film. Like, it has Jay and Bob in it for one scene. Obviously, they're in it more as far as Bluntman and Chronic goes, right?
Yeah.
And it has a lot of references to the View Askew universe, but outside it, like, it really does fit on its own.
Yeah, it's a good standalone film. I saw when he was doing his live stuff, they were doing a Q&A, and some lady comes up. She's like, I recently came out, and she's like, I'm really offended by, what Binky says about how every lesbian just needs a good deep dickin'.
Yeah.
He's like, I want you to know that he's like, that's not me saying that. That's Binky,
yeah,
who is literally the shittiest character in the film.
Yeah, Kevin had a brother who's a homosexual,
yeah.
right?
He's like, so I want you to know that he's wrong, and I'm trying to prove that he's wrong. So when he explained it, it makes perfect sense, and it was pretty.
Another thing about Kevin is that like he tells these really like insane, crass, and sometimes it could seem sexist type jokes, but like the women in his movies are so filled with agency and they're multifaceted. And most of his movies are about dudes who have this like really like odd and macho view of what their women is, like what their women are, and the women fight against that. And that's kind of like a big point in all of his movies. Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Onward. And I think Chasing Amy gets a bad rap nowadays, and people say it doesn't age well because Alyssa is credited as being a lesbian. Well, what she actually is, she's bisexual.
Yeah.
You know, and people always talk about bi erasure.
Yeah.
You know, and like maybe that's a part of it. You know, just the fact that she's into chicks, so she's a lesbian.
Yeah,
and they play up on that, you know, pink triangle type shit, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
No, she's a bisexual character, and it's very well done when she's like, why would if I want to fall in love, I don't want to limit myself, you know?
Yeah, I remember her group being mad because she kept saying, she kept trying to kind of cover up who that person or whatever.
And in the 90s, being bisexual was not quite so much of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it was there, obviously, but it wasn't viewed as like we
I'm
are
still in
today,
that same boat. You know, whoever you love, whoever you're attracted to, you're attracted to. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Why classify it?
Yeah, we're all on a spectrum. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And the only problem with Chasing Amy is it convinced Kevin that he could do Jersey Girl.
God damn it.
Yeah.
And my number one was Clerks. I mean, I don't think Clerks is put together as well as done as Chasing Amy, but that was not my introduction because I saw Mallrats. I enjoyed Mallrats. Went back and then I saw Clerks afterwards. And that was his, I don't know, for some reason, maybe because I was working retail, it changed my perception of how films could be. Maybe because he thinks Mallrats isn't that great. I mean, if you go talk to him. And because he had all this money from the studio, and he's like, oh, we did this and this, and it was more slapstick, and he's like, I wish, he's apologetic. I enjoy Mallrats, but I think Clerks is a better film, and Clerks is a little closer to home. And what Dante goes to in Randall's character is more, he's definitely like, he's a shitty person, but you get where his pessimism comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I
that
definitely think Kevin has both Randall and Dante inside of him, like
100%.
we all do. Right?
100%.
Yeah. And so
I
think Clerks was his way to exercise his Dante.
Maybe you're right.
In a way.
And going back and watching that film, you can understand that how he got his start, why people loved him so much, and I just love Clerks. I mean, it was a good kickoff. There's a reason it was so successful. There's a reason to put him on the map. So I have a special place for Clerks in my heart. And I just love Clerks. The soundtrack, and we didn't even mention earlier the fact that why he explained recently why it was done in black and white, which was a budget thing. It wasn't just the film stock. It was that when he was talking to Scott Mosier, or maybe it wasn't Scott, maybe it was somebody else who was doing the lighting. And he said, "Oh, we're going to need special lighting because there's in this quick stop, you have fluorescence, and you got to get special lighting to counteract that." And they couldn't afford it. He's like, "We could just do black and white, and it'll cancel that out." And he's like, "Fuck it, let's do black and white."
And, we don't think about this today because it's actually kind of easier nowadays to be into indie films or whatever. They don't get as much traction anymore. But, like, back then, like, he had to film this on film.
Yeah,
and had to, like, learn to cut film and all that shit on his own. Like, he recommended a book by, I think it's Robert Schmidt, Feature Filmmaking at Used Car Prices. I still have my fucking copy of that. I've read that book probably more than anything else in my life aside from maybe some comics. But, like, yeah. And, like, that movie is filled with Kevin's essence, So.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's a kickoff to the View universe, and I think it's a phenomenal film. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast, but if you haven't seen it, go watch Clerks. It's a great standalone
and it's
film
way
on its
better
own.
than Clerks 1.
Clerks
2.
Facts,
My bad.
Robbie. Facts.
I'm so confused on several levels. I thought I was the drunk one.
That's a good top 5.
That is, I know it is.
You're the drunk one. I'm the high one.
Oh, okay. You're the DJ. I'm the rapper.
Yeah, right.
That's a great top 5, I think. In my opinion.
Wait. You're Jazzy Jeff. I'm Will Smith. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're the DJ. I'm the rapper.
Okay, I'll do that. I fucking love. I think Jazzy Jeff is the most underrated person in the music business. Period.
Right, we got to get that handshake down. Remember that?
Okay, I'll do that.
Let's do it. Well,
You're gonna throw me out. I want Goldsmith to throw me the house. Throw me out. Who was throwing him out? Who had that power? Because they fucking tossed him.
That was his mom, probably.
The original
Uncle
mom
Phil.
or the other mom? It had to be Phil. Phil's the only... Shredder was the only one that had that power.
War Machine.
Oh, was he also War Machine?
War Machine, the Iron Man series
God
in the
damn
90s.
it.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, I missed that guy. He was great. What a voice. We appreciate you all tuning in. Final thoughts. So Kevin Smith, we talked about him. We went on great lengths for a director we love and respect. Final thought. I'm going to start with Drew. Final thought. If you're going to, what's your parting? Say you want to impede some Kevin Smith type advice. Silent Bob me to the audience.
Smoke.
Smoke more weed.
No, advice. It's like if you believe that you can do something, like even as like monumental seeming as making a movie, give it a shot. Why not? It could work. I mean, that's what Kevin Smith did, and he's famous as hell now.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you dream it, if you want to go out and do it, fucking try it. I mean, if you fail, how many people have gone out there? Bill Gates. You think Bill Gates succeeded on the first try? Guarantee he fucking didn't. So go out there and try it. If you fail, try again, something different. Go out and be passionate. I think that's a good fucking way to end the show.
That's what Aaliyah said, too.
Yeah. Goldsmith. Sir Justin Goldsmith. We learned he was knighted recently.
Well, I'm not even fucking joking. That's what I've been planning on saying all day.
Got him.
That's what Drew just said. And it's what I was talking about earlier when I talked about Clerks, how he was going to film school and decided to not and use that money to do.
Well, he maxed out
Clerks.
credit cards. He sold his comic book collection.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
you yourself, be honest with you doing acting, I mean, the only problem with your acting is not you. You're a good-looking guy. You're a good actor. Your problem is you're in a town that doesn't have a lot of roles.
Yeah.
You've gone to Nashville and stuff. So
So-
you yourself are pursuing your dream. You're following it, man.
What I need to do is sell my DVD collection and my house and kick my roommates out and just go make a movie.
Your DVD collection.
You know, we could do it, man.
$3.
Like $6.
Yeah.
We could at least make a short film.
Yeah. It probably won't be successful,
been-
but we'll take your house
like
money.
what you
We've
guys
been
said is
doing work.
what you guys said is hitting me home. Like Kevin Smith's first thing to me, I used to have a picture. Like I had a thing I wrote on I put on my desk. It was a picture of Kevin Smith that I cut out
In the nude.
and I put it on an index card. And I taped another index card to it so I could set it up. And on it, I wrote a word balloon that said, "If you're a writer, then fucking write." And it was Kevin Smith telling me that every day.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote 3 fucking movie scripts, like in a summer. And
Right.
and I've never gotten to that since. And we should fucking do something. I guarantee you the PCP people would fucking watch it. We got an audience now.
Yeah.
We can put it on YouTube.
To the people listening,
have people watching
comment,
it.
man. Comment.
Me and my
Do you
buddy
think
Sam, do comment. If you
comment if you want to see us film something. We've got a bunch of ideas.
Me and my buddy Sam, who is the
Sam
camera-
Malone.
the director of photography.
Malone,
for-
dick in your mouth.
Goddamn, we're working on some stuff right now. Actually, some shorts. We've actually already filmed 90% of one.
Nice.
We might film the rest of it tomorrow, actually.
Nice.
But we got some other stuff. I got notebooks of shit we're gonna do.
Fuck yeah, we should all get together and do something though.
We should film some shorts.
That'd be really fun.
And we'll film some pants.
Let us fuck.
John has a great idea.
What?
John had the zombie girlfriend.
Dude, I think that's fucking phenomenal.
it's a
We
great
talked
idea.
about this like
Dude.
4 years ago.
Yeah,
We
I think we
talked
should
about it,
do
like,
it.
8
Why
years
can't we
ago.
do that? That would be easy to film it, in fact. I thought about that recently. Doing
That's a
it.
great one, actually.
We've got the equipment. Why can't we do
and
it?
We know
My
people
buddy
that do
Sam-
makeup. We know people that do this shit.
Do you want to
so-
do it?
Yeah.
Are you down?
Yes.
Well, let's not commit.
You need to see the contract first. Some shit. Because there aren't any.
Final thoughts. Robbie. Rockin' Robbie.
You know, there are a lot of fine-looking women in the world, but not all of them bring you lasagna at work.
It's true. I remember that time you bought me lasagna at work.
And if you want one more thing, adventure, excitement, Jedi craves not these things.
God damn. So you just quotes from Clerks. Specifically Clerks.
Well, that one's from Mallrats.
Oh.
The Simon
Damn
Bob
it, you're
quotes.
right. You're right.
Okay,
The first
one more then, since
Okay,
you ruined it.
Give me
Right,
one
right.
more.
No ticket.
God damn it! I forgot about that. I was going to bring it up on the thing. That was the best reference in any of the movies.
Yeah, that's the best indie reference. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, my final thought, go listen. Watch Kevin Smith films. Absorb those films. Check out his live stuff where he rants on, because there's many of them. They are great. They put a smile on your face. that you'll have a good time. I guarantee it. If you don't, I'll refund your nickel. Okay? I'll give you a P.O. box. So we do appreciate you tuning in. Next time we're going to be talking about, is Wes Anderson? What's next?
Bond.
Oh, we're going to talk about 007.
Yeah.
James Bond. Currently Daniel Craig. So he's got a new film coming out. No Time to Die. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the other Bond films.
No Time to Die.
Yeah, and we'll
I
talk
actually
about how
like
John
that
thought the song
soundtrack.
was going to suck.
I thought it was going to suck. I don't care for Billie Eilish. I was wrong. The song is phenomenal, and I'm super pumped for the film.
Yeah.
I didn't really love Spectre, but I feel like they righted the wrongs in a new film. I'm so excited for this new film. I can't even.
I didn't like Spectre that much either, but if you look at our initial review for it on the channel, we both gave it a good review.
Oh, we shouldn't have.
We got Bond-colored glasses on.
Prisoner
Yes.
of the moment, man.
Well, Daniel Craig is dreaming. What can I say?
Facts.
So is Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
No.
Mostly facts.
Okay. Anyway, Bondcast is the next one. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll check you out next time. And remember, snooch to the nooch.
Fly, fat ass, fly!